revolution somehow. And love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to bring a revolution somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom, and this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a resurrection somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom, and this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a resurrection somehow. No, I'm lost in your freedom. And this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Good morning and welcome to the King's Report this Tuesday, August 29th, 2017. 8th year of Chungi, 7th month, 8th day by the heavenly calendar. I'm your host, Sean Moon, Second King of Chenuguk. Let's go first to our weather forecast, accurate weather forecast with Tim, the Ancient Elder. Tim.
Good morning. It's going to be a cool day today. It's 53
Woo!
degrees right
Praise
now,
God.
and
Praise
it's
God.
only going to get up to 66 today.
Oh yes, Lord. Thank you, God.
It's going to be more than 10 degrees below the historical average. It's rather cool today.
Praise God. Praise God.
And looks like we'll be getting some rain late afternoon, maybe 4 or 5 o'clock or later. There's a tropical storm coming up the east coast, and the rain clouds have come up as far
Wow.
as
Is that the
Washington,
same
D.C.,
one as
Philadelphia.
Hurricane
No, not
Harvey?
the same
Not
one.
okay,
No,
just
we've
different.
got we've got a bunch of these things going on now, but two.
It's
Tropical
crazy
storm Irma
time.
is not nearly as destructive as Harvey. It's just causing some waves and rain and wind. But we'll probably be getting a little bit of the effect of that later on today. But nothing to worry about. Just a bit of rain that we probably could use. Tomorrow it'll get up to much closer to our normal temperatures. We'll be getting up to 75 degrees, and it'll be partly sunny and warmer tomorrow. Right now, we'll be covering Harvey during the news portion of the broadcast, but just to let you know that it's raining quite heavily in Houston right now.
Wow.
And the center of that system has moved out over the Gulf again, so where it can pick up a lot of energy from the warm water. So it looks like Houston is going to get the second round of rain there. I think
Devastating.
the second round maybe something like 25 inches or something.
Did you hear the Democratic candidate said leaving before Harvey hits Houston, which the Republican mayor said get out.
Republican governor said get out.
The
Yes.
governor, and then the Democratic
Mayor.
candidate or something like that.
The Democratic mayor of Houston.
Mayor.
Yeah.
He said, that's
Said-
a nonsensical idea.
Yes,
Stay
yes.
put right where you are.
Yes.
This is what the Dems do. I don't want those slaves to get loose in a storm. Tell them to stay put in the city and drown in 20 feet of water. People are crazy.
But we'll be getting more into that in the news portion. But right now, I think even the Southwest Louisiana now.
Drown, baby, drown. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yes. The system is moving very, very slowly, and you're just dumping trillions of gallons of water, trillions of tons of water. I'm sorry, trillions of tons of water.
Goodness.
The figure I saw last night was 11 trillion tons of water being dropped. Now, Corpus Christi area, they were the first to get hit, but they're dry now, or at least they're not. It's not raining in that area now. It's Houston, between Houston and the Louisiana border. That's getting the heaviest rain right now, but it'll be moving into the southwest Louisiana area in the next few hours.
And Houston is one of the most racially diverse cities in America.
Yes.
I believe it's the fourth largest city in America. There's like 10 million people living there. And you have these wacko liberal lunatics from the north, the Yankees, that are literally saying, well, it's good. God is killing all the white supremacists in Texas. when whites are actually a minority in Houston.
Texas is a big place.
This is ridiculous. I
Yes.
mean, these people are just
A
in
lot
a
bigger than
cult
people in
crazy.
the Northeast can imagine.
They're totally insane, okay? This is an insanity we got to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Oh, okay, Tim. Thank you for that update. Praise God. At least it's a nice day here. We're blessed with cooler weather. The last couple of days have been absolutely beautiful, but we do pray for all those in Houston that are affected by the storm. You know, we hope that people took heed to some of the wiser counsel down there and got out the city before it hit.
Yes, we were telling people on Friday and Saturday to get out. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Anyways, I've seen some of the video there. We'll probably show it during the news section. But people literally, I saw this guy, he was in his house. He had a good attitude about it, actually. He was in his house, it was flooded up to his knees, and there were fish swimming around. And he was catching fish and, like, you know, getting it on his cell phone photo. His wife was
I
taking
think that video is going viral.
Have you seen
Yes,
that?
yes, yes.
He caught some kind of spiny fish. And he's like, hey, look at this. Oh my goodness, it's pretty bad down there. So we hope Houston makes a quick recovery. There's probably billions and millions of dollars in damage to that city now because of the water. But
You know, there are lessons to be learned for the rest of us too. That in this time of judgment, we try to find places that are safe. But if it turns out they're not safe, then we need to be mobile. We need to find someplace else.
natural disasters are part of the judgment. That is true. And a
It's only,
privileged period.
it's only a matter of a couple of 100 miles. If people had driven to San Antonio, for example, they would have
They would have been
quite
safe.
Yes, yes.
Well, thank you for that report, Tim. We are now in 2 Samuel today, and this is 2 Samuel 18. 2 Samuel 18. And this subsection is called Absalom's Defeat and Death. Here's a little background. Absalom was the third son of David, king of Israel, with Maacah, daughter of Talmai, king of Geshur. 2 Samuel describes him as the most handsome man of the kingdom. Absalom eventually rebelled against his father and was killed during the battle of Ephraim Wood. Excuse me. Absalom, David's third son by Maacah, was born in Hebron and moved at an early age along with the transfer of the capital to Jerusalem, where he spent most of his life. He was a great favorite of his father and of the people. His charming manners, personal beauty, and insinuating ways, together with his love of pomp and royal pretensions, captivated the hearts of the people from the beginning. He lived in great style, drove in a magnificent chariot, and had 50 men run before him. Little is known of Absalom's family life, but the biblical narrative states that he had 3 sons and 1 daughter, who was also Tamar. Absalom's sister, Tamar, was raped by Amnon, who was her half-brother. Amnon was also David's eldest son. After the rape, Absalom waited 2 years and then avenged Tamar by sending his servants to murder a drunken Amnon at a feast to which Absalom had invited all the king's sons. After this murder, Absalom fled to Talmai, who was the king of Geshur and Absalom's maternal grandfather. It was not until 3 years later that Absalom was fully reinstated in his father's favor and finally returned to Jerusalem. While at Jerusalem, Absalom built support for himself by speaking to those who came to King David for justice, saying, "See, your claims are good and right, but there is no one deputed by the king to hear you." Perhaps reflecting flaws in the judicial system of the united monarchy. "If only I were the judge of the land, then all who had a suit or case might come to me. I would give them justice." Quote, "He made gestures of humility by kissing those who bowed before him instead of accepting supplication. He stole the hearts of the people of Israel." Quote, "After 4 years, he declared himself king, raised a revolt in Hebron, the former capital, and slept with his father's concubines." All Israel and Judah flocked to him, and David, attended only by the Sheratites and Pelatites, and his former bodyguard, which had followed him from Gath, found it expedient to flee. The priests Zadok and Abiathar remained in Jerusalem, and their sons Jonathan and Ahimaaz served as David's spies. Absalom reached the capital and consulted with the renowned Ahithophel. David took refuge from Absalom's forces beyond the Jordan River. However, he took the precaution of instructing his servant Hushai to infiltrate Absalom's court and subvert it. Hushai convinced Absalom to ignore Ahithophel's advice to attack his father while he was on the run, and instead to prepare his forces for a major attack. This gave David critical time to prepare his own troops for the coming battle. A fateful battle was fought in the wood of Ephraim, west of the Jordan River, and Absalom's army was completely routed. Absalom's head was caught in the boughs of an oak tree as the mule he was riding ran beneath it. He was discovered there, still alive, by one of David's men, who reported this to Joab, the king's commander. Joab, accustomed to avenging himself, took this opportunity even to score with Absalom. Absalom once had Joab's field set on fire, then made him as the captain of the host instead of Joab. Killing Absalom was against David's explicit command. Beware that no one touched the young man Absalom. Joab killed Absalom with 3 darts or spears through the heart. So he got caught in a oak tree. He was there still alive, and then eventually killed by 3 spears through the heart. And here is the whole scenario right here, opening up in 2 Samuel. Then Absalom met the servants of David. Absalom rode on a mule. Then the mule went under thick boughs of a great terebinth tree, and his head caught in the terebinth, so he was left hanging between heaven and earth. The mule which was under him went on. Now a certain man saw it and told Joab, and said, I just saw Absalom hanging in the terebinth tree. So Joab said to the man who told him, you just saw him? Why did you not strike him there to the ground? I would have given you 10 shekels of silver and a belt. The man said to Joab, though I were to receive 1,000 shekels of silver in my hand, I would not raise my hand against the king's son. For in our hearing the king commanded you and Abishai and Ittai, saying, beware lest anyone touch the young man Absalom. Otherwise I would have dealt falsely against my own life. For there is nothing hidden from the king, and you yourself would have set yourself against me. Then Joab said, I cannot linger with you. And he took 3 spears in his hand and thrust them through Absalom's heart, while he was still alive in the midst of the terebinth tree. And the 10 young men who bore Joab's armor surrounded Absalom, struck and killed him. So Joab blew the trumpet, and the people returned from pursuing Israel, for Joab held back the people. And they took Absalom and cast him into a large pit in the woods, and laid a very large heap of stones over him. Then all Israel fled, everyone to his tent. Now Absalom in his lifetime had taken and set up a pillar for himself, which is in the king's valley. For he said, I have no son to keep my name in remembrance. He called the pillar after his own name, and to this day it is called Absalom's monument. There you go. So you see the uprising of an arrogant, narcissistic Absalom. And now, of course, many people say this is like what Preston did to father, as he, of course, went against his direction and stole and became very dishonorable. And, of course, those kind of things are there. But the point is, rising up against God, using charisma, being a narcissist, and standing on the wrong side of providence leads you destroyed. Notice how Absalom bequeathed himself to be king. He installed himself to be king. And that's very important, the legitimacy of a king. You cannot just crown yourself king. That must come from God crowning the person king, especially if he's the King of Kings. And then the successors who are named and chosen by the king. In today's world, there is no other legitimate successor to the King of Kings other than myself.
Jew.
It's not because I've appointed myself or crowned myself. A crown was put on my head 3 times on 2 continents. And I am the only legitimate heir and successor and represented body of Reverend Sun Myung Moon, the Lord of Lords, King of Kings. And that's not by my own choosing or by my own bequeathing. That is because of the Father's choice and the Father's heir successor to be chosen. Not only myself, but True Father also chose my successor, which I did not choose as well, which is Moon Shin-jun. And he was getting some good training the other day, cutting some grass. They're doing some grass cutting. Had to borrow some grass cutting implements like the trimmer and lawnmower. But anyways, doing some good, honest work. 2 hours of grass cutting, $2. And the kids, of course, they don't realize how much of a blessing that kind of training is. Even these bigger kids did it too when they were younger. Because for their whole life now, when everybody tries to attack them saying, you're that a spoiled brat entitled, you live in a palace and all this kind of stuff. They say, no, I got my first job for $1 an hour. Well, how about your first job? They were cutting grass at Newell Farms, a different property. That was not even in our control, but we knew the people. We know the instance was still there before it was sold. And they would go and cut the grass for 5-6 hours. Right? And Lowell wanted to give them $5 an hour because they were like the middle, they were like, how were they? They were like, 12, 13, something like that, when we first came here. But I said, no, you give them $1 an hour. Not only will they know what it means to earn $1 and value $1, see as precious $1, but they'll also have the bragging rights of that their whole life, which they don't realize their daddy gave them that. You see that? Their daddy gave them that because I know the dynamic of when there's blessing. There's people that want to attack you because they can't find anything else, so they'll just say, well, you were born to plenty. Yeah, you can be born to plenty and you can be a total pimp sucker. That's true. But you can be born to plenty and be put to hard work as well. You see what I'm saying? Now, usually that's not the culture of rich people, to make their kids do hard things and do actual labor and get down and dirty. Usually it's true, most rich parents do not, spoil their kids in that manner. They don't make them do hard work and labor. They think they're above that. They just have a hired hand to do that. But Chanigu culture is very important. Because Chanigu culture, even though you're rich or poor, you can't get away from peace, police, militia. So you have to do things which get you down and dirty, get bloody, and you get messed up. Even though you're a rich boy, or a rich girl, or a poor boy, or a poor girl, doesn't matter. You got to train with each other. So the peace, police, militia really is like the equalizing factor within all of the nation, which basically forces people not to become evil predators that prey on people, prey on weak people, that see weak people and say, oh my gosh, they're so weak, I could easily exploit this crab, which predators do, okay? But there are people who see weak people, see people how suggestible they are and how weak they are, and say, damn, that's dangerous for them to be that weak. Dang, that's dangerous for them to be that suggestible to brainwashing. I gotta make these people stronger, you know what I'm saying? See that? See that difference? Dang, that's dangerous. That's literally dangerous to have them that weak. I've got to help them become stronger and have proper amygdala function. Do you see the difference between that? It's a massive, massive difference. And it's probably because I've been in a fight clubs from such a young age that I don't have a bias against laborers and stuff like that. And I have no problem using my body to work. As the kids have seen. But at the same time, you must make your children do this stuff. You must make your children do physical labor and earn $1. He's getting all dirty, cutting up the grass with a trimmer. Doesn't know how to use it, and he sucks. If you look at the grass, it's pretty bad. It's pretty badly cut. It's not a professional job, but they're getting better at it. They learn how to get down and dirty. They learn how to do a sweaty, nasty, get sweaty, and it's not even that hard, honestly speaking. It's not even that hard. See, that's the thing. It's not even that hard. It's just kids are so damn spoiled. It's not hard to push around a machine that actually drives itself. Those lawnmowers nowadays actually pull you. You don't have to push them. They actually pull you. You know what I mean? So it's not like it's hard. But it's just monotonous and it's just hot in the summer. But that's good to get kids uncomfortable and get them to learn to push through discomfort. That's how they become stronger. Instead of just letting them play video games all day like bums. These bigger kids, too, since their daddy made them do that, because I'm a loving daddy and I'm a wise father, now they have bragging rights. They made $1, first job was $1 an hour. Is that interesting? Their first job was $1 an hour. Cutting grass, moving hay bales or whatever they needed to do around the farms. But they would have never got that kind of training if their daddy didn't make them do it. Because mommy doesn't make them do that stuff. Girls do not make their kids do that kind of stuff. That is a problem, girls. You have to understand. You have to do that kind of physical labor too. I mean, there's some moms that do it, obviously, but who are wise. But the queen would have definitely not made them do that. But they have a wise father who knows that they need to go through that training, and of course, in the future, harder training, which will make them bloody and beaten and dominated, and of course now they're going through that training and they're becoming stronger and stronger. And more responsible. Even though they're not perfect, they're becoming more aware than they would have been if they're just playing video games all day. Being dishonorable does not pay off. Betraying God's chosen king does not pay off. Because providence is with God's chosen king, not with self-appointed fakes. Providence moves, blessing moves with God's appointed center. And that's what we must understand about Chun Yu Guk. I mean, Kuk Chung's been mentioning this now about 2 times. I've heard this now. and it's actually a really incredible historical point. He's saying when you look across history, let's skip this break real quick, guys. Cook John was making this point now 2 times I've heard it, and I think it's a hugely important point. When you look at the history of freedom, and for example, he gave the example of South America, okay? Venezuela, Argentina were very prosperous, rich nations, but they were under dictators. Singapore is becoming a very prosperous nation, but it's basically under a dictatorship.
It's authoritarian government, yes.
So, when you look at prosperity of a nation, it's not the political freedom that creates economic flourishing per se. Because what happens? Political freedom gets taken up by the masses. They want to decide what happens. And what happens? You have the great hordes of the masses, which then decide what? Socialism. Hey, steal from those people and give me free stuff. Socialism, communism, that's what you get. And that's why democracies are temporary systems. They cannot last over time. They get eaten up by the masses. And politicians, of course, exploiting the masses, excuse me, and predators exploiting the masses, knowing that the masses will vote for them if they promise them free stuff, meaning stealing from others, giving to them. So that's why you see democracies that have never lasted in time. Never lasted in time. They only last 100 years, 200 years, 300 years. Very short-lived. America is about, what, 230 years? And it's already almost socialist. Under Obama, it was Hillary Clinton, it would be 100%. We're going right in the direction where she was going to start putting in conservatives into FEMA camps. I mean, that's literally where we were at. And that's 230 years. Boom, it's done. And it's never going to be able to recover back to its founding father days. Never. It can't. Because now the socialist presence is so big and so ingrained, and you can see the deep state is so large. It sounds good. Power to the people. Power to the people. No. Power to the people gets exploited by predators. And then political freedom leads to the destruction of freedom. And the masses, violence of the masses is what they call it. I think that's what Hayek called it. The violence of the masses. And the masses vote for force. More force. More force. I'll vote for you, politician. Okay, centralized power, fine. Just get me steal that money and give it to me. And of course, they don't even get a lot of it. It's mostly the politicians, the bureaucrats that get it. And then they become an oligopoly. An oligarchy / monopoly, oligopoly. So they promise the people, obviously, power to the masses, power to the people. They promise them these things. But really what those political predators are doing is trying to become oligarchs and trying to set up monopolies. So democratic systems are very temporary systems, and they can't last over time because they get sold out to the masses get exploited by the politicians becomes oligopolies. That's why the growth stage perfection level of the American Constitution was limited government, and there were many restraints on political freedom. Because political freedom does not necessarily make economic flourishing. It's oftentimes the reverse. It's economic freedom that creates, obviously, economic flourishing. For example, even in those dictatorships in Venezuela and Argentina, which, by the way, in the 1930s had a larger gross income per capita than the United States. People in Argentina were making more money on average than the United States, but they were under a dictatorship. Okay, so they didn't have that much political freedom, but they had economic freedom. So they could start businesses and all this kind of stuff. It was a dictatorship. And of course, the longest lived political systems are monarchies. They last the longest over time. Some of them lasting over 1,000 years. Way longer than democracies. Okay. And many times the monarchies can create, if they have the right monarch, can create economic freedom and allow economic freedom, which allows then for economic flourishing. So it is not political freedom that allows for economic flourishing necessarily. But economic freedom is essential for economic prosperity, absolutely essential. Whether it comes from a dictator, whether it comes from a temporary democracy, the reason why democracies flourish economically in the beginning because they have economic freedom in the beginning. But as time passes, they start voting that away and then become oligopolies, which America has become. It has become an oligarchy/monopoly system. Now we're literally ruled by 5 major companies like Google, Facebook, Twitter, and those kind of things. They get to decide what can be censored, what cannot be censored. See? It becomes a total oligopoly. And then you have a super elite class, which is even getting richer in America. And I'm not talking about the 1%, I'm talking about 0.1%. I'm sorry, yeah, the 0.1%, or the 0.01%. It's not even 0.1%, it's 0.01%. So, in Cheongguk, that is why there is an owner there. The king is the center of the kingdom. And there is not an amendment process. There is not, the people can't just pick a president, which then can just start waging wars like Obama. Or even what Trump is doing now in Afghanistan, listening to stupid generals. In Cheongguk, everybody is given the rights of kings. The king does not rule over them with a centralized government. But there are limits to political, quote, wishy-washy desire. So that the masses don't get bamboozled, don't get exploited by the wolves, and then, of course, become socialist, communists, etc. So in Cheongguk, there may actually be a communist state. There may be a socialist state where people say, you know, we're going to believe in socialism, we're going to make our own socialist safe haven. They can do that. That's fine. But they can't use centralized power. They won't be able to centralize power to force everybody else to follow that system. And Kuk Jeong was explaining how, of course, America became more and more centralized, especially with the Federal Reserve Act, the income tax, the coup of taking over the senators and making them a direct election by the people, which then allowed them to be fickle to the masses, allowed them to transcend the states, which made them then federal employees or beholden to the federal powers. Because you understand, the state senators were chosen by the state legislatures, and they would represent the state in Washington. They would be a state senator. They would represent the issues of the state of Pennsylvania in Washington. Now, because of direct elections, they are not beholden to the state legislature, nor are they beholden to the state. And they basically become a federal employee. See how that works? And that's a big coup. The bankers pushed for that coup, and they got that coup, of course, after they got the income taxes, you name it. So the bankers and the Rothschild groups, they know how to implode democracies and to slowly take power by using the democratic process to then implode it. Because they can create the boom and bust cycles, they can implode the nation, buy everything on a cheap, and own everything. Steal all the assets on the cheap. They can build up a nation, build up the asset value of that nation. Then they're ready to take it down. They support a democratic, a communist-leaning candidates, which is basically the Democratic Party now. They support the Democratic Party to take over, and of course Hillary Clinton was the final nail in the coffin, to take over America support the Socialist Communist Party takeover. They can then, of course, solidify all their monopolies, centralize power, and as the economies implode, they can buy everything up cheap. And then they can move on to parasitically destroy other countries as well. So there's a lot of profit to be done in economic collapse, and a lot of profit to be done in warfare, which is the reason why they either want welfare states or warfare states. That is the technique of the Rothschild banking cartel, to create warfare states and or welfare states. They don't want peace, they don't want stability, they do not want economic prosperity. They'll give it to a nation for a little while, so they'll trust them and give them more power. But then they'll start clamping down on that economic freedom, bring in their monopolistic banking system and kill off all the local banks, buy them up, and then eventually buy up all the politicians, create oligopolies, and create an elitist class, which will then collude with them to then eat up all the assets as the economies implode. And they're in control, by the way, of the interest rates and boom and bust cycles of the markets, which artificially then control the money supply, which then, of course, give them complete control in knowing future predictions of market movement. And so thus, before everybody else, they can make the bets, hedge the bets, to make all the money to buy high, to buy low and sell high. It's a totally rigged system. And they're using the god of money and the manipulation of currency and money to take over nation states, which they have done. So Chun-Yugook is different that way. It does not provide political upheaval. It does not create a centralized state, which then can be used by the predators to create oligopolies and exploit the masses. Because the masses usually are more busy, figuring out how to feed their family than thinking about the machinations and the manipulations of predator intellectuals, intelligentsia class. And that's why they're always pushing for, quote, democracy first, socialism later, because they know that's the way they get control of a nation. They use the Marxist professors, they use the educators to take over education, brainwash the young people to become socialists, and use them as fodder for their socialist takeover. Because once they get socialist, they can solidify the oligopolies and they can buy low, sell high. Profit, profit, profit. There's huge profit in Obamacare, making a socialist healthcare system. Ryan's making hundreds of millions of dollars. Obama, Hillary Clinton, they were pushing Obamacare, hundreds of millions of dollars by the foreign insurance companies and the campaign contributions and different type of engagements that they're able to do for them. Because why? The banks are getting off, the foreign insurance companies, which are the select insurance companies that are in Obamacare that force everybody to buy from those particular insurance companies, become fat cats. They're able to rob the American people and have access to the tax loot. Which is why in Chun-Yugook you can't tax the people. The federal government will not be allowed to create an income tax. There's no amendment process. They will never be able to make an income tax. And if there's an income tax that tries to be, that will be seen as an illegal action, and people can revolt. Because why? They also have guns. They also have weapons. And they can start destroying those type of people that are acting in opposition to the law of the land and the Constitution, which God has given to the world. You can see how fervent Muslims are about Sharia law because they believe that's God's law, and they believe that's higher than any democracy, any other type of law. Well, Chun-Yugook, or people of God who are under Father's authority, we are that, in terms of the globalists, we are that scary. We're the opposite of Islam. Because we have the law of God, we have the Constitution given to us by God, and it does not create Sharia law, it creates the exact opposite. It maximizes human flourishing, while at the same time being centered on Christian ethics and the Christian God, who bestows this upon us. So it is our right and duty to fight for it. And it's our right and duty to defend it as fervently as any Muslim fanatic who defends Sharia law. Thankfully, the law of Chani Guk provides the maximum freedom and economic freedom, not political freedom. You don't have the freedom to screw up the country. You don't have the freedom to take it over with socialist education. You don't have the freedom to try to destroy it. See that? You don't have the freedom, that freedom you don't have. You have the freedom to flourish. You have the freedom to serve others and be successful. You have the freedom to have economic and political peace, because this type of decentralized system will not lend itself well to foreign invasions, foreign wars, and constant Middle Eastern intervention and nation building, etc. It won't lend itself to that, because it will prove itself by becoming so economic prosperous, all nations want to join it. You see that? Just like in the early Americas, when through a decentralized system, Virginia and different areas started implementing a decentralized model where they started giving land to people, and people were able to buy and sell and trade off of their land and own what they produced. That then started getting taken up by the different communities in Boston and Norfolk, Virginia, etc. That said, hey, that's working, we want that. And what was that? Economic freedom. Political freedom is not real freedom. It's political enslavement. And that's why God's nation will not have the exploitative political, quote, freedom that is utilized by the political predators to create oligopolies. Centralize power to themselves, disarm all the people so they have no threats as they centralize power to themselves, and finalize their takeover. That pattern of history in Satan's kingdoms will not be able to exist in Chani Guk. Thank God for God's law, the Chani Guk Constitution, and God's monarchy, God's kingdom, where there's true prosperity, true values, people, militia, training the young people to be honorable, training the young people to be grateful, training the young people to get down and dirty, to not be spoiled by the decadence of riches. And of course, to honor their constitution, to be kings and tribal kings that also honor their king and their King of Kings, from which the Constitution and whose lineage, God's lineage, from which the Constitution came. We'll be right back with a short break. Stay with us on the King's Report.
I'm down here at the range today. I just learned a new technique from the father of the .44 Magnum, Elmer Keith. which is called shooting out of the notch, which allows you to make really long distance shots and still have an extremely precise sight picture. So I brought my CW9 car down, and with this little gun, we're gonna shoot this little munchkin at 200 yards up in the hills, applying this technique, and hopefully we'll make the shot. To apply this technique, instead of using the blade of the front sight lined up with the top of the rear sight, I'm going to take the dot of the front sight and raise it up so that it's out of the notch, but I'm still going to keep the front sight on my target. Bringing that front sight up like that is going to compensate for the bullet drop over that excessively long distance with just this little gun. So if applied right, we should be making contact. Let's see how it goes. I saw this shot, so I'm a little bit out of breath because you gotta run to make sure that is what I thought it was, and it was. So while making this shot, from that distance with these white dot sights, it literally would cover the entire target. You couldn't see what you were shooting. So using the Elmer Keith technique, you were able to raise it out of the back notch, I can't breathe, out of the back notch, allowing you to keep your accuracy, aim, and also still see the target, which is key because it was a hard shot, not gonna lie. But yeah, it went great, and Elmer knows what he's talking about. And for such a small gun to be able to take that hit, I'm very impressed with this. All right, guys, be sure to like and share, and I'll see you out on the range. That was awesome. Hey, can I try that one? Yeah, let's do it with the 380. Does everybody have eyes and ears?
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this morning, Tuesday, August 29th, 2017. I'm your host here with Tim Elder, Hongji Shou Moon, the second king of Cheongguk. And to the top story on DrudgeReport.com this morning. More rain, more dead. Harvey floods keep Houston paralyzed. Look at that flood, folks. Boats, people up to their waistline in water. Look at that photo. Houston, and Democratic mayor saying don't leave. That would be a stupid thing to do. Are you kidding? It's a stupid thing to stay in that. Especially when you have all these, it's so sad that you have all these brain dead, government brainwashed peoples who literally hear a Democratic mayor say, stay, and they'll stay.
Yeah, we need to make our own decisions.
You need to transcend this control grid. And if they say stay, say, screw you. You're not going to be staying. You know the Democratic mayor of Houston is in some kind of bunker or some kind of high ground. They're not living with the folks in Houston.
He's not walking through.
He's not walking waist deep in water and chemical poisoning and all sorts of crap that could be floating around there. Floodwaters reached the roof lines of single-story homes Monday, and people could be heard pleading for help from inside as Harvey poured rain on the Houston area for a fourth consecutive day after a chaotic weekend of rising water and rescues. It's interesting, just this weekend, this Sunday, I was talking about Noah as a doomsday prepper.
That's right.
See the floods? The king was talking about Noah and floods as a doomsday prepper. I even showed you my survival kit.
Yes.
It doesn't hurt to be prepared. And one thing about preparation is also, if you hear that 20 feet of water is coming your way, you could just drive, before it comes. Yes, it's good to have a survival kit on your person, that's good. But if you hear that 20 feet of water is coming towards your area and you're going to be underwater, maybe, and you have a car, maybe you can get in your car.
And keep at least a half tank of gas at all times.
Maybe before it comes, you can get in your car and drive north or south or whatever, away from it, away from the damn thing. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of effort, okay? The nation's fourth largest city, look at that, remained mostly paralyzed by one of those largest downpours in U.S. history. And of course, they're going up on Trump saying, oh, he's never responded so bad. Even though he responded immediately, sending federal funds. Even the mayor of Texas, of Houston, is saying Trump is acting, the White House has helped with everything that we've requested. But of course, the mainstream media is saying, look how racist he is. He's not even helping the people of Houston. When Obama was not, there were huge forest fires in the West Coast, and Obama didn't even send any federal aid. That was like the first time in history where a president refused to send federal aid to like a third of the state that was burned down in Idaho or something like that. It was some western state, I can't remember. But the mainstream media and CNN didn't have any problem with that. Meanwhile, Trump immediately responds to this. The White House immediately responds, sending federal aid and federal resources immediately, and he gets lambasted for being a white supremacist. This kind of attack is ridiculous, and it's everyday ongoing onslaught of constant propaganda against Trump. And apparently the CNN head now, who is because now AT&T is now acquiring CNN. The news is, at least the inside news, is that AT&T is not happy with the fact that CNN is basically a propaganda arm of the Democratic Party. And they actually want them to report real news. I mean, just some type of balanced news. A little bit, okay? Just a little bit. Not full-on, hardcore propaganda for Hillary Rodham Clinton and Obama and the Democratic Socialist Party. They don't want that. Apparently, that's the inside baseball, apparently, of the acquisition.
Because AT&T has to deal with the Federal Communications Commission, which is, Trump has appointed his people to that, and so they can't make an enemy of Trump.
There you go. So apparently the president, now the head of CNN, is going to be stepping down. And hopefully there'll be some changes and some firings like the stupid Coopers and all these liberal lunatics on there being literally military agents. They're like military. They actually work with the CIA. That's open. Anderson Cooper were in meeting with David Brock, Media Matters, with the Obama administration in the White House. They were literally working with the propaganda, military, CIA, psychological warfare operations teams to do disinformation on the public. I mean, this is hardcore Russian-style, Lenin-style, Hitler-esque North Korea propaganda. CNN is Communist News Network. Literally
That's it.
Working with the Democratic Socialist. I mean, there's David Brock and Anderson Cooper and CNN, the hosts, were in the White House. There's White House records of them in the White House with military generals. What the hell is CNN doing in there? That's a little biased. That's a little biased being in secret meetings with Obama. Little biased. And of course, look at the spew they're putting out of constant, just endless propaganda, endless attack on Trump. I mean, just ridiculous. It's not even reporting, okay? They're not even reporting. It's just propaganda, like hardcore North Korean style statist propaganda. It is ridiculous. And of course they hate Trump because he's not a statist. And even though it's not perfect and he is doing a stupid war in Afghanistan, listening to those stupid generals who are banning him and Melania from reading InfoWars and GoNews.com and other type of alternative news sources like Daily Caller or Breitbart, they're trying to literally ban him from reading those kind of things. They're trying to stop information flow to the president because the president does not believe in CNN, does not believe in Fox News. They just want him to watch Fox News because they're starting to take that over. They don't want him to watch Hannity. They don't want him to watch Lou Dobbs. They don't want him to watch Tucker Carlson because they'll speak the truth. They want him to listen to Fox and Friends in the morning, who are the neocons. They want him to listen to the Fox Friends neocons, who support warmongering everywhere in the world, quote, nation building when it's really nation imploding, banker building realities. Meanwhile, it's a normal person to have to send their sons to die. It's ridiculous. But there you go. Massive, massive rain slamming Houston. There you go. There's the eye of the storm right there. 1 a.m., 8:29. That is at 1 a.m. this morning. Right there, passing the eye of the storm right there on top of Houston. I mean, literally in the red zone still. A little off into the orange zone, okay? But it's still right near in that red zone. They're going to get some more rain today. Harvey has been blamed for at least 3 confirmed deaths, including a woman killed Monday in the town of Porter, northeast of Houston, when a large oak tree dislodged by heavy rains toppled onto her trailer home. A Houston woman also said she presumes 6 members of the family, including 4 of her grandchildren, died after their van sank into the Greens Bayou in East Houston. Virginia Saldivar told the AP her brother-in-law was driving the van Sunday when a strong current took the vehicle over a bridge and into Bayou. The driver was able to get out and urge the children to escape through the back door, but they could not. I'm just hoping we find the bodies. You see that? This is what you get when you trust your stupid slaveholder operatives. You become dead. They get all the praise and credit for doing such a, quote, speedy job when they're not doing anything. Why aren't they using weather weapons technology from HARP to manipulate the weather so that they can stop these kind of storms or at least divert them away from people? No, because the political elite like disasters. Do you understand? They like social chaos. They like it because it justifies their existence. Federalized, centralized power love when there's crises. They don't like it when there's peace. They don't like it when there's flourishing. They don't like it when people don't care about them. They want the constant attention. They want the constant praise. They want to constantly justify their slaveholding of people and stealing from people. Oh, do you see this disaster? Oh, do you see how important the federal government is? We went and saved you when you had that crisis, didn't we? You see that? Kids should be learning that their parents who are honorable are that precious, not the stupid federal government. Kids should be learning parents who are precious are helping save you from your own destruction. Not, look, see what happened here? The federal government created the disaster and then used the disaster and then say, now you have to give us more federal power. Always the same pattern. They're not trying to empower people. They're not trying to allow people to be self-reliant. They're amassing, forcing everybody to move to the cities by imploding economies outside the cities, because they will create counter cultures and counter economies that will also provide wealth and success for other people, and including kids in the rural areas. And they're forcing everybody to come to the cities, and then they want problems and more crime and disarm the public in the cities, so that everybody lives in fear and trepidation, so they can say, you see, little slaves, that's why you need the government officials and you need your slaveholders, because we protect you even though we make the crises, and even though we fund the Ku Klux Klan, even though we make them burn crosses to blame Christians, and even though we create divide and conquer strategy, chaos and propaganda, Anderson Cooper, CNN, and MSNBC, Rachel Maddow, to make you think that all your troubles come from different disparate groups, when it's really coming from the oligopolies that are sitting and perching on top of you, because you cannot see through the illusions of the devil and archangels that sit and rule you as they pretend you are free because you got video games. But meanwhile, they keep you in your house when there's 20 feet storms of water floods coming your way. Great job, you Democrat socialist lunatics. All the children that died in that van is your fault, or your fault. You murdered them. Could have issued a warning that said everybody in Houston must evacuate, get out. No, you told them that's a nonsensical idea and they should stay. Now a van full of kids has drowned, painful drowning deaths because of your slaveholding lunacy. These pathetic predators must be ousted. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us on the King's Report.
When I'm feeling all let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Our God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom, and this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a resurrection somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom, and this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this morning, Tuesday, August 29th, 2017. I'm your host, Hong Sean Moon, the second king of Chanilguk. And Adan Salazar from Infowars.com writes, why did Democratic mayor order Houston stand down during hurricane catastrophe? Despite the governor's recommendations, Democrat officials ignored him. Even, of course, the Democratic officials ignored the stupid Mayor Sylvester Turner's order or recommendation. Refused to issue evacuation orders for the city's 2.3 million residents, even after Governor Greg Abbott had advised Texans to do so. Despite Governor Abbott issuing a state of disaster declaration last Wednesday for Harris, and 29 other Texas County, Mayor Turner did not warn, inform, or urge citizens to leave the area, parts of which have now been catastrophically devastated by over 30 inches of rain.
There's more to come.
On Friday, and more to come. On Friday, Governor Greg Abbott advised, even if an evacuation order hasn't been issued by a local official, if you're in an area between Corpus Christi and Houston, you need to strongly consider evacuating. If I were living in the Houston region, as I did once, I would decide to head to areas north of there. On the other hand, Mr. Turner, a Democrat, and other local officials urged residents to stay in their homes as Hurricane Harvey, which has since downgraded to a tropical storm, approached Houston on Friday, reported the Wall Street Journal. On Friday afternoon, Mayor Turner reiterated that no evacuation order had been issued for Houston. And of course, these stupid politicians will never be punished because they've got these people on the cultish loyalty to these Democratic parties. And literally the next cycle, even though because of their irresponsible management, literally there will be hundreds dead potentially. And people will forget about the next week. Next week, new news. Next 2 weeks, gone. 1 month later, forgot about it. And the next election cycle, Democrat, press the button again. There's now a button where you can literally just click anybody on the Democratic Party. You just click all Democrats and one button, and it clicks everybody who's a Democrat. Did you see that? I mean, just ridiculous. Photos from Houston, the fourth most populous U.S. city, show the destructive aftermath. Look at these families, oh my gosh, waist deep in water. Look at that car totally underwater. You see, when the floods are up to your waist, it's a little too late to get. When you can drive your boat around on the street, that's probably a sign to get the hell out of there. But they've been told by their God, one of their gods, one of their Democratic officials, one of the ones who love them so deeply and who care for them and give them always the best advice because they fight for you. You were told to stay in your home, even though you're neck high in water. Well, our local mayor told us to stay put because he doesn't want to have a crisis. Oh my gosh, give me a break. On Friday, ahead of the heavy rains, Harris County Judge Ed Emmett said the safest thing is to stay where you are and ride out the storm. We don't anticipate any kind of massive evacuation. You see, isn't this interesting? Because just on Sunday, I was talking about being prepared. You don't have to have World War III to have some reason to be prepared. You could have a natural disaster like Katrina, or in this case, Harvey, which just happened. And then you have a disaster like what's happening in Japan, where North Korea yesterday fired another ballistic missile, now this time over Japan! What did I tell you, folks? It's getting worse. It's getting worse, not better. You can't fire ICBMs over Japan. This is incredible. We are literally on the verge of World War III this month. And I told you, as 923 is ramping up, and all the signs in heaven are starting to rise, and just as Revelation 12 says, because we now identify who the woman is, the war is coming. From the micro to the macro, there is a war coming. Disaster is here already in Houston. I mean, total disaster. I mean, look at those. Look at those disastrous photos. And they're told that safest thing to stay where you are and ride out the storm. We don't anticipate any kind of massive evacuation. Emmett, a Republican top emergency official, later called criticism of the decision not to evacuate outrageous and claimed residents would have laughed if they'd have issued the order. To suggest that we should have evacuated 2 million people is an outrageous statement, Emmett said. What we're facing now is an effort to respond to a tragedy. We've never seen water like this before. That's like saying, okay, oh, do you see those officials? Listen to those officials. They're here to get your dead cadavers. Okay? Once you die, they're here to collect your bodies, okay? They're here, they'll help you. They'll help you after you're dead, they'll collect your bodies. How brainwashed are people listening to mainstream media? They've been told that they've got 30 inches of rain that are coming that way. If you just get a measuring stick, you can see that's 3 feet of water in your home is not a good thing, and you're going to get real sick real soon. And with that much flood water, the force of that water, this is the problem with people never get outdoors. Even people in Houston, they just live in their cities and they go to these stupid parks. They never see the real outdoors. They never try to walk across a little stream, ford a stream that is 3 feet deep. If you are waist deep in water, even just a small river can whisk you away. But people are so brain dead and so detached from nature, they don't even know what it means to ford a stream. They don't even know how to ford a stream. And they think, oh, a stream is nothing. I can just walk through a stream. It will take you off your feet. Let alone a freaking flood that's covering a city. You don't think that's going to take you off your feet when it starts having a current? This is how brain dead people have become. When 30 inches is coming your way and you're not going to be able to be on a mountain, you may want to move. You're in a flood zone, that water right next to you, and can you imagine the Delaware River? If the Delaware River raised 30 inches, you would have to evacuate that whole town down there. Matamoros would have to definitely evacuate.
Well, 30 inches of rain, Delaware River would rise a lot more than just 30 inches.
It would raise like 8 feet or something.
Because rain is falling on the mountains, valleys, and it's all collecting.
Pouring down.
So it'd be several feet.
I mean, you have to literally be brain dead not to move out of that. But they were told by their gods, trust us.
People don't know the power of nature.
Don't worry. It's just a little rain. You've never seen rain before? Why are you so scared? You've never seen a little water before? And now tragedy has struck. Dozens probably dead. Dozens in the hundreds we're facing now. If we have gone out 3 days before and said we want 4 million people to leave Harris County, they would have been totally nonsensical thing to do, he stated. Why? It's better than having them all die. Hurricane Harvey has been now blamed for 5 deaths in the Houston area and is the most major test the Trump administration has faced. On Monday, city officials finally ordered mandatory and voluntary evacuation from certain areas. Considering the Democrat playbook admittedly calls for not letting a serious crisis go to waste, some speculate Houstonians were sacrificed to make Trump look bad.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
There you go. Was the mayor just negligent, or was the stunt designed to embarrass Trump?
That's it.
What pathetic.
Let people die and let Trump take the blame. That's it.
Let them die and let Trump take the blame. Look at that picture. Wow. Houston officials downplayed flood warnings as fake news. City faces potential lawsuit for publicly shaming resident who blew the whistle, calling it fake news. Look at that guy literally waiting around in toxic water. You don't know what kind of chemicals are now all there. You know what kind of spills are in there. And by the way, if you wait in water too long and you don't allow your feet to dry, you'll start getting foot rot. Your skin will start melting off. Do you know that? Ever been in a bath for a long time, about an hour or two? What happens to your feet? They become totally soft. And as you start trying to walk in boots, what do? They start tearing your feet off. Because you're not meant to be an aquatic animal. You're not meant to be in the water. And even just a little bit of foot rot will start getting infected, fungus. You're talking about fungal infections. You're talking about all sorts of dangerous things that can happen leading to amputation. In the jungles of Vietnam, they would actually put holes through their boots to let the water pour out. And you would have to dry your feet constantly because you're always so wet. And foot rot is a super dangerous disease. especially in a wilderness scenario. You have to be able to dry your feet and your body because that's what you're walking on. A Houston area woman set off a firestorm in the hours leading up to Hurricane Harvey's landfall when she wrote on social media that local officials and the mainstream media were misleading the public about the severity of the incoming storm. Resident Rebecca Rizig said the Houston City Council knew Hurricane Harvey was expected to do far greater damage than was being reported to the public. Hey guys, I'm not trying to start a panic, but as some of you know, I work for a law firm here downtown. One of the lawyers I work with has a friend in the Houston City Council. The news is not telling the total truth. The storm is expected to be 3 times worse than what the news is saying because they don't want to panic on the freeways like Hurricane Rita. The City Council in Harris County Flood Control had an emergency meeting this morning. Everything south of Katy is predicted to be devastating. They're predicting 50 inches of rain, not 24 like the news is saying, and 100,000 homes destroyed. They're expecting all of Houston to be without power for 3 days. If you guys live in a flood zone, you need to get out of Houston or to try stay with someone further north of Houston. I hope they're wrong, but this is the latest I've heard from what the news isn't telling you. Stay safe, everyone. That's a patriot, Rebecca Rissing. She's telling the truth. Her post went viral and generated so much controversy that high-ranking Houston politicians and regional media outlets were forced to address it, ordering citizens to ignore it as fake news, directing them to only pay attention to government warnings and reputable media outlets who always lie to you on a constant day-to-day basis. Harris County officials are batting down false information, making the rounds from a Sugar Land lawyer, warning people not to fall for online hysteria. Online hysteria, yeah. After now a couple days, you now see who was the crazy one. Look at this. Harris County, here's the tweet. Several false emails and Facebook posts are being circulated on Hurricane Harvey. Ignore the messages. Monitor the media for official news and warnings. And the official news gets you killed. We'll be right back after a short break. Stay with us on the King's Report.
Hi, welcome to Tommy Gun Warehouse. We have a short video for you this afternoon. We want to show you how to work the action on a P380. This is our very small pocket 380 that it has a very strong spring, to work the slide. And this is because it's a very small gun and we need to have that extra spring tension to actually make the gun work properly. So today I want to show you how to properly work the action. Ladies sometimes find it very difficult, not to mention some men find it difficult to work the slide. Okay, so I just wanted to show you how to hand a firearm to someone properly. The ejection port should be up, the slide is back, and nothing in the magazine well. Then you take this and you hand it to somebody in this manner. They should then verify that it is empty and nothing in the magazine well. And now what I want to show you is how to work the action on this P380. It's sometimes difficult for men and many times difficult for women, but if you know how, it's not that difficult. So a die is going to start out by facing at a 45-degree angle downrange. The gun is going to be, the axis of the barrel is going to be the same axis as her forearm. She's going to keep it closer to her chest, and then reaching over the top with her weak hand, she's going to make sure that this ejection port is clear, that her hand isn't in the way, because you don't want to have an accidental detonation of a primer and injure your hand. So using the upper body strength, you're going to, just work it together, push and pull at the same time, and lock it back. And it's just that simple. You might not get it the first time, but you All it takes is a little practice and learning how to use your muscles, and you'll do just fine. Di had started this just a short time ago, and after the third or fourth attempt, she was doing it perfectly. So thanks for listening. Come down and see us at Tommy Gun Warehouse, and we'll show you this P380.
Yes, sir.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this morning, Tuesday, August 29th, 2017. I'm your host, Hyungjin Sean Moon, the second king of Cheonilguk. And let's get back to it. Coverage on the Houston Hurricane Harvey, devastating, catastrophic 30 inches of rain. Look at that photo, folks. Alligators going door to door as Houstonians fish inside homes. Go ahead, put that up. Look at that alligator on people's driveways.
By a friend in Houston, a photo of a 8-foot alligator on his front porch. And I've got other reports, mainstream news, of huge 12, 13, 14-foot alligators walking around in people's yards, coming into their
Well,
houses.
that's just natural. The alligator is going to be
Haven't
pushed
gotten
out,
facilities in
obviously,
the houses yet, but those
and they're going to be
reports
pushed
are
up
there. I don't
onto
doubt it,
higher
because
land.
We have 3 different newscasts showing bass and perch and catfish and minnows in people's houses. That's up on Infowars.com. A little collation of that. DrudgeReport.com has even more extensive.
There you go, freezing, freezing, freezing once again. Let's see if we can jump forward and get that footage.
So you
Oh, there you go. Look at this. Look at this guy. Look at this dude that's in his house, by the way. And he just thinks it's funny. Look at it. He picked up a cat, whatever, some kind of fish in his house. Look at that. And isn't that ironic? He's got a fish on the wall.
shark or something in the house?
Look at that dude, man. He's in his house he's thinking he's having a funny time. He's one of the guys who stayed in Houston, and he thinks it's funny catching fish in his house. Meanwhile, he's getting foot rot. I mean, do you not understand people? I mean, people just don't get outdoors. They don't understand. You don't understand how cold you get. As soon as you get wet and you stop moving,
I can't exactly tell. Looks kind of like a
people
shark to
are
me.
so
I don't
clueless
know. This is getting
to
more and more insane. I haven't even
how
seen
weak
that
a human
yet.
body is.
I just seen
Turn down that volume. As soon as you start getting wet, the number one cause of death in the wilderness is hypothermia. That is where you cannot control your body's core temperature. Okay, enough of that video. When you start getting wet, if you spend any amount of time outdoors in the wilderness with no medical evac, no medical hospitals within miles, which we've done, you know you have to maintain your body's core temperature. It's absolutely critical. And if you just take some basic guidelines, obviously you're fine. When it starts raining, you get the habit of immediate thermorating, immediately putting on raincoats. So for example, when I was training my kids, when we do this survival and bushcraft training, as soon as it even starts drizzling, they will put on their ponchos. As soon as they feel any rain, they're not going to wait until their cotton shirts get drenched and say, oh crap, I'm kind of cold. No, you're too late by then. You're lucky you had a fire that your daddy made. You see what I'm saying? But as soon as you get touched by rain, in your mind, if you've done training, should be put on poncho now. Because you don't want to get wet. Getting wet gets you killed. Of course, if you have normal clothes on, like cotton clothes, you're going to die because cotton clothes absorbs and holds water, and it's a very lengthy process to get it out. You have to literally dry it in front of fire. And you are 25 times more likely to get hypothermia when you're wet because water will rob your body through conduction of its heat source and of its heat, and will start dropping your body temperature precipitously. Precipitously. That is the number one leading cause of death is hypothermia in the wild. Not dehydration, not food, not wild animals, not bears, not grizzly bears, not leopards, whatever. Number one cause of death of humans in the wild is hypothermia. It's a little bit of rain getting you wet. It's a little bit of moisture getting you wet. And then at night, it falls below freezing, and now you got ice on you, and now it's just sucking heat out of your body. You might as well be sleeping on snow at that point, because that's essentially what you're doing. And if you got cotton clothes, that clothes, once it's wet, is going to hold water, and if it freezes by the, if you're hitting that situation, and it freezes, you walking around, literally, you might as well be laying down on snow. Because you have an ice refrigerator on top of your body, on top of your naked body in the wilderness with winds and everything, you name it, and if you have no fire source, you're dead. You're going to die if you have to brave that element. You have very little chance of survival. It's the elements which kill you. That's why shelter is absolutely one of the key factors of survival. It's your number one priority. Shelter, immediate. That's the first priority of survival. Not food, not water. People think, oh, if I'm a survival situation, I need food. No, you don't. You can live 3 weeks without food, on average. Water. You can go 3 days without water. Of course, you'll be very exhausted. But still, you could survive. 3 minutes without air, basically. And about 3 hours in inclement weather. That's all you can last. Once your body temperature starts dropping and those winds start taking up and you get soaking wet and you got rain pouring on you. Look at those pictures where the people, here, go ahead, go put up some of those pictures as I'm speaking. Look at these pictures of the rain just pouring down. You're not just talking about of these flooded waters like this. You're talking about rain. Look at those currents. Those currents will lift your booty up. People are so brain dead about the wild. They have no idea how powerful forces of nature are. They have no idea how weak their human body is because they're so used to just going to Starbucks and getting frappuccinos and going to Dunkin' Donuts and picking up what they want in fast food restaurants and going to air-conditioned, stabilized, superficial areas or dwelling places where everything's controlled by automated system. Look at that. Look at those people floating around in there. They can't. Are those people or are those birds? Those are birds. But look at that flooding. The power of the currents will whisk you off your feet. Okay? And the rain is hitting. I saw these guys on a kayak. They're trying to boat around and they're just getting poured on. They're just getting poured on. People have no idea how powerful water is. They have no idea. You cannot mushy water. If you mushy water, you're going to get yourself into a mushy situation. You're going to get yourself killed. But there it is. It's not only getting whisked away, it's how drenched you're going to be. Not only foot rot and fungus rot, all those kind of things. You're talking about chafing, skin melting off of you. You're talking about all sorts of infections in that water. You're talking about all sorts of chemical poisoning in that water. Not only that, you're talking about getting soaking freaking wet and your body can't survive past 3 hours in the water, cold water. You're not going to be able to survive. You're going to get hypothermia, you're going to die. You need to be able to get out of the inclement and be able to raise your core body temperature, CBT, once again. But how are you going to do that if you can't make any fires? You're in the middle of a city with freaking floods all around you. Meanwhile, last week you were laughing at everybody who was talking about Noah's Ark. Or you've been talking about everyone laughing at people who are saying, hey, you may want to prepare. You might want to prepare just a little bit. You may want to stay abreast of current events and a storm that's going to hit you with 30 inches, 60 inches of water, whatever it is. My goodness. That's not only it. Because what happens in those kind of collapsed situations? Not only do you get whole busloads of kids that drown, just like in this story here. Virginia Saldivar told the AP her brother-in-law was driving the van Sunday when a strong current took the vehicle over a bridge into the bayou. The driver was able to get out and urge the children to escape to the back, but they could not, and now all those kids are dead. Houston metro area covers about 10,000 square miles, an area slightly bigger than New Jersey. It's crisscrossed by about 1,700 miles of channels, creeks, and bayous that drain into the Gulf of Mexico about 50 miles to the southeast from downtown. The storm is generating an amount of rain that would normally be seen only once in more than 1,000 years, said Edmund Russo, a deputy district engineer from the Army Corps of Engineers, which was concerned that flood water would spill around a pair of 70-year-old reservoir dams that protect downtown Houston. Flooding was so widespread that the levels of city waterways have equaled or surpassed those of Tropical Storm Allison from 2001, and no major highway has been spared some overflow. The city's normally bustling business district was virtually deserted Monday, with emergency vehicles making up most of the traffic. But not only that happens. What happens? Cajun Navy members met with gunfire by apparent looters. Groups say this is what also happens in breakdown of natural disaster. You don't only get the natural disaster and devastation and psychological trauma of that, you get bozos who want to shoot at you because they want to steal stuff. You get societal breakdown. The politeness of society breaks down. Do you understand? You were always 3 meals away from disaster. I'm sorry, they say 9 meals away. 9 meals away. Because there's studies done after 9 meals, and people are hungry just for 9 meals. They'll start looting, they'll start stealing. Within 2 weeks of no food, people will start eating human flesh. You understand? That is a reality. Eating human flesh. They will start cannibalizing you and seeing you as a food source when they cannot have food for 2 weeks. You understand? The normal mechanisms that you're used to when society breaks down and we're in the mid-tribulation moving towards 923 and things are breaking down, people don't behave like people. What you're used to and spoiled in for the last 60 years of peace because of the blessing of the age of the Lord's second advent on the earth doesn't happen. And then you're back in the pangs of normal satanic history, which is suffering and social unrest and political oligopolies and satanic archangelic power. Welcome to post-Christian America. Members of Louisiana Cajun Navy, a group of Louisianans helping Tropical Storm Harvey victims in Texas, were shot at Monday by apparent looters. The group said on Facebook the Cajun Navy has become widely known across the state for its response efforts during natural disasters and made up of different groups. A group of first responders previously provided assistance to Louisianans during last year's historic August floods. So these folks are just trying to help people, and looters are shooting at them because that's what happens when things break down, folks. And they're not only trying to start war, they're not only trying to assassinate Trump, they're not only saying kill him, he's going to die when the government's going to kill him on CNN by Phil Mudd, deputy director of the FBI. You have all these insane lunatics trying to run the asylum, literally trying to kill Trump, kill our president, create warfare, create natural disasters to make him look bad, start wars in Afghanistan, start wars with North Korea. All this insanity! And the 923 star formation is coming! And it's only going to get worse. When will you heed the call of God and start preparing? You bum. You lazy bum. The time is now. You don't heed the warning, you get taken away by the floods. We'll be right back after the short break. Stay with us on the King's Report.
These are the promises I never will forget. I never will forget. I know your heart been broke again. I know your prayers ain't been answered yet.
$6.58.
14. 646. Time 471.
Hello folks, I'm Justin Moon, the president of Carr Firearms Group, and today I've got the PM40 with True Glow night sights, and look at that, Magna porting. Look at that porting on that. This is our standard PM40 with the day sights, but now this model with the Magna porting and the True Glow night sights. What a difference. The 40 caliber PMs have a reputation for being quite a bit of a kicker. They do kick a lot. And so we put the Magna porting on these PM40s, and boy, what a difference does that make. It really makes this PM40 shoot a lot softer, reduces the muzzle flip, the recoil comes straight back into you, and becomes a very manageable pistol.
Revolution somehow. And love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to bring a revolution somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom, and this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a resurrection somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom, and this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to King's Report this Tuesday, August 29, 2017. I'm your host, Hung Sean Moon, second king of Chundigal, here with Tim, the Agent Elder. Let's go now to Tim for the breakdown of North Korea's reckless missile launch over Japan. We told you on Sunday. It is escalating. Go ahead, Tim.
Yes, this happened yesterday evening, our time, early morning in Japan and Korea. The Reuters article here says North Korea fired a ballistic missile over Japan's northern Hokkaido Island into the sea early on Tuesday, prompting warnings to residents to take cover and drawing a sharp reaction from Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. So the missile,
Residents to take cover.
so yes, according to the Sankei Shimbun, the J alert, which is the sort of the missile alert, was issued to residents in 12 of Japan's 47 prefectures.
Wow.
People were getting, these alarms on their cell phones.
Number 12, look at that, number 12. Revelation 12.
But the
Number 12.
missile flew over Hokkaido and landed about 735 miles east of Japan. So, and it may have,
Nuts.
they're not sure, but it may have broken up into 3 or more pieces as it was flying over Japan.
They got a lunatic shooting freaking missiles over their country.
Yes.
I mean, when was the last time Japanese were taking cover from missiles?
I don't think, it's maybe the first time.
75 years now. This
Since
is
World War II,
ridiculous!
yes. Since World War II, yes.
This is ridiculous. Do you understand, folks? It's getting worse. 9:30 is coming up. Go ahead, Tim.
The test, one of the most provocative ever from the reclusive state, came as U.S. and South Korean forces conduct annual military exercises on the peninsula.
Insane!
But these U.S. and South Korean military exercises are computer simulations, all right? So people are sitting in front of computers in a room, and North Korea doesn't like it, so they're going to shoot a missile.
Over a nation with millions of people on it. Only the third most powerful economy in the world. That you just happen to shoot ICBMs over. Hey everybody, how'd you enjoy that? Pew! I mean, this is insane! Insane! If you don't understand the amount of grave danger that you yourself are in, this whole world, but including you, because you're part of it. You brain dead lunatic. Do you understand how much grave danger you are in? This is on the verge of World War III. Do you understand? On the tipping point, the verge. You have no idea how dangerous. This is not provocative. This is extremely dangerous. You're talking about nuclear war can be set off by such an incident like this. Oh my gosh, this is just, it's infuriating. It's infuriating. People live in such a deluded bubble. They don't understand how dangerous this is. Okay, Tim, go ahead.
Abe said Japan's Prime Minister Abe, North Korea's reckless action is an unprecedented, serious, and grave threat to our nation. Abe said he spoke to U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday and agreed to increase pressure on North Korea. Trump also said the United States was 100% with Japan. Abe told reporters. The U.S. disarmament ambassador said Washington still needed to do further analysis of the launch, but it will be the subject of a UN Security Council meeting later today.
UN Security Council? The UN with Hillary Clinton is the one who gave them the nuclear technology in 1997! They are the culprits that armed them to continue destabilization because they want the war to be, they want the world to be divided. They want the war to have constant threat. They want the world to be always divided. They don't want us to unite around sovereignty, around freedom, and around prosperity. They don't want people to unite around being able to have self-determination and destiny. They don't want people to be able to work in providence with God and have Christian ethics and be moral. They don't want that, you understand? They want the world divided. If they can divide it and conquer it, if they can keep it divided, they can keep it conquered. Which is the reason why Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton armed North Korea with nuclear technology in '97. Go ahead, pull up that article, guys. 1997, we are already arming the nuclear technology, giving it to North Korea. Great job, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton. You're now ready to blow up the freaking world. This is ridiculous. Oh my gosh, people have no idea. Okay, go ahead, Tim. I'm sorry about that.
So in China, North Korea's lone major ally, Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Hua Chunying said the crisis was approaching a critical juncture, but it was also maybe a turning point to open the door to peace talks. So maybe China is finally going to do something now, if it's approaching a critical juncture. South Korea's military said the missile was launched from near the North Korean capital Pyongyang just before 6 a.m. Local time and flew 2,700 kilometers or 1,680 miles, reaching an altitude of about 500 kilometers, about 340 miles. And 4th South Korean fighter jets bombed a military firing range in South Korea on Tuesday after President Moon Jae-in asked the military to demonstrate capabilities to counter North Korea. So in order to show North Korea how much force they have, South Korean fighter jets bombed a firing range that was near the North Korean border but in South Korea. North Korea
judgment is there.
Remained defiant. The U.S. should know that it can neither browbeat the DPRK with any economic sanctions and military threats and blackmail, nor make the DPRK flinch from the road chosen by itself, North Korea's official Rodong Shinmun said, using the initials of the DPRK's official name, North's official name. Global markets reacted, buying safe haven assets such as gold, Swiss francs, and even the Japanese yen, on expectation domestic investors would bring large amounts of currency home in times of uncertainty. So this is maybe the intermediate range Hwasong 12, but there was no clear consensus among experts. They don't know yet exactly which missile it was. Pyongyang has demonstrated that its threats to the U.S. base on Guam are not a bluff. Konstantin Kosachev, chairman of the Russia's upper house of parliament, said on social media. North Korea fired what it said was a rocket carrying a communications satellite into orbit over Japan in 2009. After warning of its plan, the United States, Japan, and South Korea considered it a ballistic missile test. So that was another time before that they did this firing over Japan, but they said that they warned it in advance and it went into space, but this one actually fell 700 miles or so off of the coast. Television and radio broadcasters broke into their regular programming with a J alert, warning citizens of the launch. Bullet train services were temporarily halted, and warnings went out over loudspeakers in towns in Hokkaido. I was woken by the missile alert on my cell phone, said Ayaka Nishijima, an office worker in Honshu.
Well, I wonder what the UN Security Council is going to do. I think I wouldn't. Oh, gee whiz. Who would be surprised if they would say that it's the conservative governments that are creating all the problems and that we need more leftists, Democrats, socialist commies taking over and we need to impeach Shinzo Abe. Just like they impeached the conservative Park Geun-hye. And now allowed for a socialist takeover. Because China's the new model. China's the new destiny of the world, where the oligarchs get to sit on U.S. slaveholders, and you're a grateful slave that can work in a factory for 20 hours a day. And as the oligopolies and oligarchs parade around pretending that they're moral posturing and virtue signaling that they're such compassionate gods, the normal Chinese person lives in utter poverty and slavery. Falun Gong members and evangelical Christians' organs are harvested. And that is the great model upheld by the UN and Davos Group. Wonderful. Well, it's all Trump's fault, isn't it? It's all the sovereignty-based people's fault. Of course, in Japan, there's a huge ruckus about Abe. They're trying to get him impeached in Japan, too. They're trying to move the commies in, too. East Asia is imploding. The blessing of Father preserving it and creating what we were doing with the evil UN there is gone. Gone. Curse an utter societal communist takeover is on top of them, and now they have missiles shoot flying over their head. ICBM missiles flying over their heads. Okay, go ahead.
You're going to love this. Some experts said Kim, in shooting the missile, was trying to pressure Washington to the negotiating table. Quote, North Korea thinks that by exhibiting their capability, the path to dialogue will open, unquote, Masao Okonogi, professor emeritus of Japan's Keio University, said by phone from Seoul. Quote, that logic, however, is not understood by the rest of the world, so it's not easy. Actually, Okonogi is an often quoted North Korean expert in Japan. So he says that, and he may be right, that this is North Korea's thinking, that if they, this is a bully, say that if they punch America in the face, America will say, okay, let's talk peace.
Oh, my goodness.
The Japan military did not attempt to shoot down the missile. The missile may have broken into pieces, but that was not clear. Experts say defenses in Japan and South Korea that are designed to hit incoming missiles would struggle to bring down a missile flying high
Well, I'm
overhead.
curious, since you read Japanese, then maybe we can get some insight on there.
Yeah.
How is the Japanese media covering Abe's covering? Are they lambasting him, saying, "You didn't shoot down the missile. You're not protecting our people"? How are they?
No, they're
dealing
not.
with it?
No, they're not. They're not doing that. No, actually, Asahi Shimbun. I looked at their site, and they're really burying the whole thing.
They're burying it.
Yeah, they're burying the whole
It
thing.
never happened.
Yeah.
According to Asahi Shimbun.
Yeah, but Sankei, which is a much more sort of right-wing paper, is playing it up a much. In fact, they issued a special edition.
What about the mainstream media? They're just covering it up.
Well, this is the mainstream media. Yeah, Asahi is left, and Sankei is right. They're both mainstream.
So that would be like CNN, Fox News.
I don't know how you can compare it at U.S., but Asahi is very much a pro. I would say it's much more pro-communist, pro-North Korea. So they're trying to ignore the whole thing. And Sankei is much more nationalist, I would say, much more sovereignty-oriented, you could say. They're making a big fuss over it, but not over the failure to shoot it down. I think technically, as the Reuters article was saying, it would be difficult to shoot down a missile that was flying high overhead. I don't know if the THAAD, I don't know how far up the THAAD missiles go. I don't know if it would reach the altitude that it was at when it was flying over Japan.
Well, U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson appeared to make a peace overture to North Korea last week, welcome what he called restraint it had shown by not conducting any tests since July, but now that's changed. The U.S. has had all options open, including military, are on the table, although its preference is for a diplomatic solution. Some experts think that Kim was trying to pressure Washington to negotiate the latest tests. Experts say defenses in Japan and South Korea that are designed to hit incoming missiles would struggle to bring down a missile flying overhead. Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull said China, North Korea's main ally and trading partner, needed to do more. China has to ratchet up the pressure, Turnbull told Australian radio. They have condemned these missile tests like everyone else, but with the unique leverage comes unique responsibility. China said it opposed North Korea defying UN resolutions, but adding that sanctions and pressure could not fundamentally solve the issue. I mean, how many UN resolutions has China broken? How many human rights, millions of human rights violations, and they don't get caught? You don't think that's a problem with the UN world government? That they don't prosecute some of the biggest war criminals and human rights criminals on the planet, while they moral posture pretend and have little Hollywood celebrities trying to give them status and credibility? The UN is a totally discredited, ridiculous, old world body that is completely globalist run, completely banker bailout run, banker run, completely world government centralist, archangelic Satanist running it. They literally have the majority of UN nations are dictatorships which they recognize. And how can they have equal say to, quote, democratic nations? Clearly, the UN is a body for tyrants. And how many human rights abuses has China done manufacturing and flesh farming, organ harvesting citizens and Falun Gong members doing Tai Chi and Falun Gong meditation in a park. Ridiculous. Or evangelical Christians who have a Bible and don't bow to the state. This is absurd. I mean, just ridiculous. The United States and South Korea are technically still at war with the North because of their 1950-53 conflict ended in a truce, not a peace treaty. The North said it will never give up its weapons programs, saying they are necessary to counter hostility from the United States and its allies. And there you go. In Korea, of course, we were trying to divide the elite so that the able side elite could stand with True Father and the able UN, standing up for sovereignty, standing up for God's kingdom, and Chuniguk to be launched from South Korea. Trying to allow the Peace Police, Peace Militia model to be slowly implemented into the Korean government, because all men have to go to the army. But if those men could bring back their guns, then you would have guns in the homes of people. And if there were break-ins or attempted rapes or assaults, whatever, people could defend themselves with guns and realize that guns are not only government property, but guns are, come here girl, you're not jumping down. But guns are for self-defense. And in the end, guns are a powerful force for self-defense. Not only would the nation be able to fight off a attack, impending attack from North Korea, China, you name it, at least be in a better position to fight against it, like Switzerland and or Israel, who's able to survive amidst hordes of enemies all around them, because their civilian population can change into a military like that in a matter of 1 hour. So we're trying, of course, we're working with the top level officials in the Korean government, from the KCIA, the Speaker of the House, to the President we met before she became president. Defense Department, you name it. Giving them the instruction, trying to get them to understand the threat of China and North Korea. And that they should start migrating to the Switzerland model, which is closer to the Peace Police Militia model. And getting arms closer to the civilians, so that civilians understand sovereignty more clearly. And that would be, of course, that would be a greater protection against threats like North Korea and China. But B, it would get people understanding sovereignty. Why they are made, that they are made in the image of God. That the government doesn't own them as slaves. That the federal bureaucracies and their political officials do not own them. They're sovereign people. Once they're able to have weapons and to be able to defend their territory, now you have a balance of power that's happening with the federal government. And now the federal government cannot act as an archangel, and now must serve the people, because the people now have munitions and arms to fight back against it. If that was implemented with our guidance in Korea, South Korea would be a totally different nation by now. That was 10 years ago, 8 or 10 years ago now. It would be a completely different nation. And of course, it would be much better prepared for this insanity that is now flying over Japan and Korea. Of course, we're also doing that in Japan as well. We were meeting Shinzo Abe, our people, before he got elected as Prime Minister. This is a reality of True Father's global providential work that literally prevented World War III, which, because of the Han Mother and the curse that she brought, is now on the footstep and the doorstep of East Asia. We'll be right back after this break. Stay with us.
down here at the range today, I just learned a new technique from the father of the .44 Magnum, Elmer Keith, which is called shooting out of the notch, which allows you to make really long distance shots and still have an extremely precise sight picture. So I brought my CW9 car down, and with this little gun, we're gonna shoot this little munchkin at 200 yards up in the hills, applying this technique, and hopefully we'll make the shot. To apply this technique, instead of using the blade of the front sight lined up with the top of the rear sight, I'm going to take the dot of the front sight and raise it up so that it's out of the notch, but I'm still going to keep the front sight on my target. Bringing that front sight up like that is going to compensate for the bullet drop over that excessively long distance with just this little gun. So if applied right, we should be making contact. Let's see how it goes. Oh, that's perfect. I saw this shot, so I'm a little bit out of breath because you gotta run to make sure that is what I thought it was, and it was. So while making this shot, from that distance with these white dot sights, it literally would cover the entire target. You couldn't see what you were shooting. So using the Elmer Keith technique, you were able to raise it out of the back notch. I can't breathe. Out of the back notch, allowing you to keep your accuracy, aim, and also still see the target, which is key because it was a hard shot, not gonna lie. But yeah, it went great, and Elmer knows what he's talking about. And for such a small gun to be able to take that hit, I'm very impressed with this. All right, guys, be sure to like and share, and I'll see you out on the range. That was awesome. Hey, can I try that one? Yeah, let's see what the 380. Does everybody have eyes and ears?
Fall, come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Shake the ground with the sound of revival. darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a resurrection somehow. No, I'm lost in your freedom. And this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring, he's roaring like a lion.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Tuesday, August 29th, 2017, on the third hour of the broadcast this morning. South Korea retaliates, Seoul drops 8 bombs near border with North Korea in show of overwhelming force after Kim Jong-un launched a ballistic missile over Japan yesterday. The Japanese military did not attempt to shoot down the missile, which passed over, but people in northern regions of Japan were advised to take precautions. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said he would do all in his power to protect the people. South Korea, in response, dropped 8 bombs at a range near the Korean border. South Korea warned North Korea may be preparing for its 6th nuclear test. Detected signs of it preparing another test in its Punggye-ri underground site. US, Japan, and Korea have requested a UN Security Council meeting. North Korea has fired a ballistic missile over North Japan today in the most serious escalation yet of its nuclear standoff with the West. The Japanese military did not attempt to shoot down the rocket, reportedly a mid-range ballistic missile designed to carry a nuclear payload. They're shooting ICBMs over Japan, do you understand? Where millions of people are walking around. Shooting ICBMs. Do you understand how dangerous this is, folks? This is why I have a low immune system. I was talking there in the break. You know, I thought I could handle it. I was, you know, because we do the 3-hour broadcast, obviously, right? But unfortunately, it gets me so riled up, I'm ranting and railing the whole freaking 3 hours. I'm literally shouting for 3 hours straight. I don't know how my voice handles. Anyways, I do that, as people know who watch a broadcast. But, so I thought I was fine, okay? I get a little rest after the King's Report. Then, you know, I can do a little training, push my body, you know what I'm saying, and just get that training on. And I thought, you know, I thought I was adjusting. I thought I was doing good, and, you know, but then we had the ceremonies and all this kind of stuff, you know, adding up and stuff. But anyways, I thought I was doing fine. I thought I was doing totally fine. Okay, I thought, okay, my body can handle it. This is not bad. I mean, I don't feel terribly exhausted after the King's Report, all this kind of thing. And sometimes I have meetings afterwards with the folks here that are gathered. You know, the other day we went to 11 o'clock, stuff like that. So, you know, but... And then I talked to David Madera, and David Madera, who did a radio show for like 5 years, he said like 3 hours he used to do a broadcast, and then he'd have to rest 21 hours. Like literally not speak to anybody.
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah.
Because he had to like keep his voice and stuff like that. I mean, I realized how, I don't like tend to my voice whatsoever. I mean, I'm in the daytime, I'm singing songs, you know, even when I'm training, I'm singing, it's not a problem. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm staying silent the whole day. But I thought my body could take it, you know, because we're doing tons of pull-ups and we're training and stuff like that. And it's not like I'm training like at a super, super hard level either. You know, because I'm still raising up the kids and they're still not at a super advanced level yet. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but I thought my body could handle it, but my body's been breaking down. Not my body, like physically, but like I started to get like this immune system lowering. And then I got this rash on my lips. You know, Kuk Jung said that his family members get it sometimes too, when they're stressed or they get immune system. I got like this rash on my lips. And then I had to use this medication on it, which is made by GlaxoSmithKline, which I don't like. It's a pharmaceutical company. But it basically dries out your lips so it's not, you know, oozing basically. It's not pussing.
You look a lot better today.
It feels a lot better. It feels way better. But it's like 1 week of the application. But last week too, I had the same thing. I put it on and it started feeling better. And so I started training again. And then it, boom, flowered back up again. And that's why on Friday I couldn't be on the show. Because by Friday it was like freaking, my lips like 3 times the size. You know what I'm saying? They're now back to normal. But I literally had like 3 times the size. It was like ridiculous. Oh my gosh. And, but it's like, it's like, you know, very irritating. I thought it was poison ivy. I thought maybe I touched poison ivy and I touched my lips or something. Because it was so itchy. But apparently it's basically a latent virus that anybody can get. It's like a cold, but basically you get on your lips when your immune system is down. And I'm like, that sucks. I mean, so I thought I was doing good. I thought I was fine, but I think the not only the ranting and all that kind of stuff, not only the shouting at this stuff, because it gets me so damn riled up. It's like crazy to hear this. It's just, you can't not get excited about it. I don't say necessarily excited in a good way. I'm talking about sometimes getting pissed off seeing these fools do this kind of crap. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So I'm looking for some good news now that's going to help.
No, that doesn't help because the 99% of it, 99% of this reality is still Satan's kingdom. You know what I mean? But anyways, the point is, it's like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. It's crazy. But again, at the same time, if I don't put energy into my broadcast, into the you know, the King's Report, it's obvious, it's not as exciting to watch. So I do it for the people. No, this is just like my natural reaction. It just drives me so freaking nuts. It drives me nuts. And I know it's fun to watch somebody that's, you know, being driven nuts, but it's taxing. It's taxing on the body. Oh my Lord, it's like crazy. Anyways, what's probably saving me is this, I haven't been eating my vitamins either. This is also a problem too. I've been getting just trying to get more and more. I'm just trying to rest more. I'm trying to get more like constant sleep because I'm only getting about 3-4 hours at night. And then we do the broadcast and I try to get another hour in or something like that. So that lack of sleep, the training of the body, the different types of training we're doing, which is hard on the body, and at the same time, the ranting and railing at the political Satanism, which I have to do. I mean, that is like critical. It's like very important, not only spiritual condition, but it's important. That started taking a toll. And so I've been having this, this week I think I'm not going to train. I think I'm going to be disciplined and just not train at all this week. Just I'm going to have the kids train, but I'm not going to train because I know this thing, it's like right on the verge of healing. And it's like, this happened to me last week. I got too antsy and I wanted to train a little bit with my boys. And then it flared up again, fired up again. And then my immune system dropped again. And then, you know, I had this, you know, basically infection. So I'm going to be responsible this week. I'm not going to train. I'm going to just heal up, take it slow, put on my medicine, eat my vitamins like a good boy and a good king. I'm going to be a good king this week. I'm just going to be very nice. And I'm going to whack this stinking virus. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Okay. That's enough of that. Enough of that.
Okay.
North Korea fired a ballistic missile over Japan today in the most serious escalation, etc. Seoul dropped 8 Mark 84 bombs with 4 F-15K fighter jets near Taebaek, Gangwon-do province in a show of overwhelming force and released footage of its own missile tests conducted last week. Look at those F-15K fighter jets dropping bombs.
So I guess they dropped them close enough to the North Korean border that the North Koreans could get a feel of what they would be in for.
I mean, North Korea is laughing at them.
Yeah.
You dropped little puny little firecrackers. We just shot an ICBM over Japan, you bums. They're laughing at them. This is how underprepared the Korean military. We were trying to warn them that they're underprepared 10 years ago. We were telling them, be real. You generals are underprepared. Your technology and military weaponry is like 40 years old.
And the training is terrible.
The training is horrible. Yeah. People in Korea go to training, the military training. It's not military training, it's brainwash training. They just stand around, they shoot like a couple hundred rounds a year. Yeah. It is ridiculous.
Not even that.
They don't even learn tactics. They learn brainwashing. Obey the officials. Obey the central command. Obey the top of command. Obey the centralized power. That's all they learn. That's all. It's a brainwashing camp for males to make the alpha males die off. It is not for actually the safety of the nation. If it was, they would let the men train actual fighting tactics and allow them to go back home with their weapons and to organize together to do their tank squad, airplane squad, rifle squads, and get that constant training so that they're ready to fight if they have to. But if you allow that, then it's harder to control that population. See, that's the flip side of that. That's the flip side. And the oligopolies know that they would release so much power to the citizenry that that's hard to control now because now they got guns. It's just classic archangelic selfishness and classic archangelic brainwashing. It's so sad. But now there's bombs dropping all over the place. Oh, this is exactly what we told our mother. Exactly what we told her. They said they were great. The Han mother is here. The true mother is here in Korea. You think anything will happen in Korea? Well, you betrayed. I told her, Mama, you're erasing father. He will punish you. You will be judged. If you glorify yourself, you will be humbled. If you humble yourself, you'll be glorified. And of course, what she needed to do is acknowledge our true father's King of Kings lineage and 3 kingships, and she needed to bow before the 3 kingships and reject her false lineage and accept and uplift the lineage of the King of Kings and the King of Kings, Cain and Abel, who are already working to split the elite in Korea so we could split the whole structure and then create a sovereignty-based system where the military would move towards the Switzerland model and the Israeli model. And that would be a huge change of events in East Asia and a huge change of events for sovereignty revolution. Of course, in Japan, the same thing too with Strong Japan movement. I mean, look at them. They just shot an ICBM mid-range missile over Japan. I mean, do you understand? Oh my gosh, people don't get it. They shot it over Japan. Oh my gosh, I mean, it's ridiculous. not only in front of them in the seas of Japan, 70 miles off the coast, which is bad enough, they're now shooting it over the dang island. And as Tim was saying the other break, they're going to start requesting, they're going to say something, we're going to get nuclear power now. Well, Japan better get nuclear power now. It's a little late. All that more positive virtue signaling of, oh, we're a pacifist nation, is not working now, is it? When tyrants get strong, is it? Huh? That's why Peace Militia would be on the front line of destroying tyrants like this that were trying to do this and collude with Clintons to take nuclear power, and they would have been wiped out before by the local people and the local who are armed and ready to go. Training already. That's why Peace Militia is so essential, because it would snip lunatics in the bud before they became lunatics and take over countries. You see that? Peace Militia is on the front line. It's like having firefighters on the front line of every local area, every neighborhood, city block. So as soon as a fire goes, boom, there's firefighters right there. Boom, same thing. As soon as a lunatic trying to do nuclear power or trying to do some insanity and trying to gain military power, boom, the extant surrounding Peace Militia get wind of that, they will take them out. Before it gets to this situation. Unlike Obama, who protects ISIS, and like the Democratic Party, Socialist Party, Communist Party, that gave the dang terrorist weapons and nuclear weapons to North Korea. How ridiculous is that? Meanwhile, they're running freaking drug trade in Afghanistan, and we're going killing Afghanis and Iraqis because we've been told that 9/11 was done by Iraq when there were 16 Saudi Arabian hijackers. Just lie after lie after lie after lie. From Ruby Ridge to Waco to Oklahoma City bombing to 9/11, just lie after lie after lie. And the backer has been testing it, beta testing it, beta testing it, beta testing it, seeing the reaction, seeing the false flag reaction, seeing the false flags. What can they get away with? How can they take over the American population? How can they guilt shame us into, quote, registering guns, which always leads to confiscation? Because that's the big problem. Americans are armed. That's the big problem. 120, 150 million plus armed. That's a massive army, a massive civilian militia, and a massive population that can fight back and are not animals and the cows on a plantation to be farmed. Even though they're tax farming them. But there's a limit, because at some point, as George Soros trying to double the funding to terrorist organizations within the domestic United States, like BLM, like Antifa, that are going around trying to blow up statues in Houston and other places in the country, tearing things down, rioting on the street. Now more attacks in Berkeley. At a prayer meeting, Christians were organized for prayer, praying on the streets, and the Berkeley Antifa comes and starts beating them with clubs. Get those clips. Type in Antifa Berkeley prayer meeting. Antifa is beating innocent men and women who are coming together for prayer in Berkeley Square. We are literally, streets are roamed with thugs and gangsters, suburban white kids who've been so brainwashed and victimized, and they're in this cult of self-loathing that they're out there saying, yeah, let's go kill other Christians. Yeah, let's go beat up other white people. Because then we'll prove to our cult how not racist we are. This is why my blood pressure goes up and my immune system is dropping. I need my superfood, Tim, and my multivitamin. Can you get my multivitamin, please? I need my vitamin C, multivitamin, and superfood. This is ridiculous. Just yesterday on the streets, people trying to pray. People trying to pray for California. People trying to pray for America. People trying to pray for Trump in nonviolent prayer. Just sitting there praying. And they get jumped by these black-clad, stupid thugs who live in a freaking video game and think they're Ninja Gaiden walking down the street with a 2x4 beating up old women. These people are crazy. Go ahead, guys. Pull up the video of Antifa attacking people in prayer. There you go. There you go. Right there. Right there. Put that up quickly. Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, I I've got some of the most devastatingly
Okay, jump
insane
forward,
news
jump forward.
coming to people. Mission, the real
Okay, hold
news
on.
with David Knight, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central, syndicated radio, TV.
Antifa savagely attacking a prayer meeting. Democrats are cheering.
Where Pelosi, the congresswoman for the area.
I mean, George Soros is pumping millions of dollars to create instability and social unrest, because that's what he did in Ukraine and over 100 countries, imploding them economically, so that as they collapse, he can bet off, he can buy cheap, sell high.
Meth heads in black basically beating the living hell out of them. And then I've got the Daily Mail.
Oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. I mean, they're beating up old grandmas on the freaking street with 2x4s because they're praying and they dare to be Christian and say the name of Jesus Christ, but they'll worship Muslims who say it's fine that their prophet married a 6-year-old girl and having sex with her at 9 years old. That's fine, but you could bring up old grandma praying in Jesus Christ's name for the sake of the nation, for the president, and for peace. Because according to Reuters and CNN, they're peace activists. Antifa, peace activists. Are you crazy? What kind of inverted reality, fake delusional cistern do they live in? What a cesspool do they live in? Look at this, look at this, watch this video, watch this video. Go ahead, play that video. Look at these crazy thugs beating up people. Just grabbing random people out for prayer. Look at them just punching them, socking them, hitting them with 2x4s. Look at this. Look at these punks. Totally KKK, white supremacist, arrogant suburban white supremacist kids, brainwashed by Marxism and Maoism. Totally KKK Nazis, dressed in black-clad suits, thinking that they're some kind of Knights Templar when they're anti-Christian, anti-human, anti-freedom. And Nancy Pelosi says, what does she say? She calls it a planned rally and as a white supremacist event. Christians gathering to prayer, Tim, is apparently a white supremacist event now. Look at these idiots living in Star Wars. They think they're rebels in the Star Wars when they're the ones that were trying to centralize power like the Empire. They're part of the freaking Empire. They're not the rebels. They're the freaking stormtroopers. They're not Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi. They're not the Jedis. They're the ones trying to centralize power, trying to censor people, trying to get rid of freedom. They're the ones trying to get all archangelic power to centralize in themselves so they can bully people into what you can say, what you can believe, what you have to. You have to fund transgender sex operations and sex changes. Look at them attacking just innocent white guys. Look at this. Because they're out there praying. Look at them just pushing them, hitting them. Meanwhile, they're calling other people, they're calling normal conservatives Nazis. They're acting like they're freaking Nazis. How ridiculous is this? This is insane. I am sick of this crap. It's insane. Oh, golly. I mean, talk about inverting reality. Talk about switching reality. Talk about blaming your enemy of what you're doing. They're calling conservatives Nazis and white supremacists even though they're not white, and they're acting like the freaking Nazis. Did you bring the vitamins, baby? Thank you, baby. Thank you, Queen. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. You see that? I need my organic, non-GMO superfood. Look at that. Superfood vitamins. These are green superfood. This has like all the vegetables in it. Tons of wheatgrass. I mean, I read you that list of amazing super nutrients. This is my multivitamin, which I haven't been taking in a while because I've just so busy for some reason. Anyways, I have not been able to take them. But look at this. That's my male multivitamin. That's non-GMO as well and fully organic. And here we go, some vitamin C. That's only about 250 milligrams each. I probably need 3,000 milligrams this morning. But there you go, folks. Just insane, 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 insane. I'm going to take these vitamins. We'll be right back after this short break. We'll see you on the other side.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Games Report this Tuesday, August 29, 2017. I'm your host, Hyungjin Sean Moon, the second king of Cheonil-guk. Koreans, South Koreans living in fear. South Koreans watched file footage of a North Korean missile launch at a railway station in Seoul after the North fired a ballistic missile over Japan and into the Pacific Ocean. I mean, the Korean, South Korean people live in such delusion. It's scary. I mean, it's scary. They watch those things, and they're literally in this echo chamber of this cultish-like activity where they tell each other, "Oh, it's another missile test again. Ha ha ha." And they laugh at each other. Nothing's gonna happen. And they console themselves in this little ritualistic, cultish dance of trying to assuage their fears and trepidation, which they all have internally, because if they had proper amygdala function, they would know this is a dangerous thing. And they're all told by their announcers and little broadcasters, "Oh yes, they've done another attack. The North has launched another missile over North Korea. But we've had a lot of these all the time. And there's real no escalation. It's going to be fine. Don't leave your house when there's 20, 30 inches of flood water coming to Houston." Oh, this is like ridiculous. We are the official news broadcasting to you. And so, yes, and the North Korea is fired a missile, but on to other news. A puppy dog was rescued in a tree yesterday, and Mrs. Margaret Cho, Mrs. Cho something something, found a beautiful package at her door, and it was given to her by her fiancé. That's the official news, KBS. We'll see you tomorrow. I mean, this is what they do. They bury it in this trivial crap. And they're under so much danger, they have no idea how much danger they're in. And they're all in this little, like, what are those birds, those Australian birds that like flap at each other all day long? Like, not seagulls. They're like these wacky, they're like blue-footed birds that flap at each other all day, like literally the South Korean people are like that. They're in this ritualistic dance that is pre-programmed into them by their official news networks and celebrity cults that are telling them, don't worry. All we have to do is become communists, that's all. That'll solve the issue. We just become communists and all these problems will go away. There's no real big problem anyways. The big problem is any conservatism, Christianity, and all that kind of stuff. We have to become commie, okay? That's the true way of modernism. That's what it means to live in the 21st century. We're going to pave a new way. That other stuff doesn't work. We want to be commie and socialist because we're going to make it cool this time around. Yeah, you're going to make it cool by murdering 80 million people. You're going to make it cool by starting out with World War III, and within the first hour, you're potentially 8 million people that could be dead. Because I guess in the modern era, war is cool, ignorance is cool, being a slave to the mainstream official news is cool, and not thinking for yourself is cool, and not having a sovereignty is cool, and being disarmed and being a slave is cool, and being a serf is cool, because at least your oligopolies will make you worship them in their celebrity cults, and Michael Moore lecturing you about how bad Trump is, and then you'll be able to be happy just being able to see Tom Cruise and see Gwyneth Paltrow and see Angelina Jolie and oh, I'm so happy! My life is fulfilled! I've seen Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie! Wow, wow, wow! That's like the best day of my life! World War III is on the verge of happening, but that's okay because I love my celebrity cult. This is insanity! I mean, it's totally ridiculous. Dictator Kim Jong-un is believed to have fired his rocket over Japan because it is the path towards the... I mean, do you understand? I get riled up like this, and I realize I just got to let it go. Because if I'm reporting the news, Dictator Kim Jong-un is believed to have fired his rocket over Japan because it is a path towards the U.S. Pacific territory of Guam, which he threatened to attack 2 weeks ago. Millions of Japanese citizens were woken with texts urging them to move to a sturdy building or basement as a missile passed over its territory at around 6 a.m. local time on Tuesday. And that's the news. If I reported like, all you fools be asleep, you'd be asleep. You'd be asleep. You know you like seeing the king rant and rail. Even though sometimes it drives you crazy, and even though sometimes you don't want to see the broadcast come ranting and railing. But you know it's entertaining. I'm not doing it for the sake of entertainment. I'm just being a normal human being. This is ridiculous. It's crazy to see the movement of political Satanism and the Satanists worldwide. It's just insane. It's heavy. It is a weight, an oppressive force to see the demonic force. And you can see through it. You can see all those actions. You can see Satan, the devil. You can see the force of evil. You can see the inanimate, unseen, invisible force of Satan and the spirit realm that is allied with him in demonic alliance. You can see the pulsating carotid artery veins in the beast, rising up and imbuing its essence and power into these human vestiges and visages and in these empty sacks of flesh that have sold themselves to Satan and sold their souls for power and political power, for temporary worldly power. Just like the Family Friend and the Quark Group, all these heretical groups. Same spirit as Satan. Even though the Family Friend is actually more heretical. Selling their soul out for temporary power. Selling their soul out for worldly power, which of course then gets stripped from them in the end. It comes back to eat and devour them. Their own dishonor and thievery and own decrepit nature comes back to destroy them. Why? Because there's no honor in the den of thieves. You steal with a bunch of robbers, they're going to steal from you. What's stopping them from stealing you? How do you think they get you? What makes you think that they're going to have ethics on you when things get bad? Oh, a lot of people love you when you got assets, they want to party with you. But once you don't have them, they'll throw you on the bus like an old sack of shish kebab. Right in the trash. And And you are so stupid and foolish to sell out to idiot scum like that. And to think that you're working and doing some good things. Because they're moral posture and virtue singing and groveling at you, praising you all day. And you got sucked up in the lie. You got caught up in the lie. You didn't know who you are. A sinner saved by grace. And you start believing the lies. And look what has happened with the Han mother bringing the curse to East Asia. They're living in total fear now. All this happening as we escalate towards 9/23, the signs in heaven that are coming. A cosmic war that is about to rage. A cosmic change and shift that is coming. And a new birth that is challenging, that will challenge the kingdoms of Satan's world. Be ready for a rough ride, folks. It's not going to be easy. But those who are faithful and true and stand with God, we will see the end of Satan's kingdoms. And we'll see God's kingdom finally come to this world.
Hallelujah.
We'll be right back after the short break. Stay with us on the King's Report.
Drawing closer by grace, and all my heart is yours. All fear removed.
Hi guys, I'm down here at the range today. I just learned a new technique from the father of the .44 Magnum, Elmer Keith, which is called shooting out of the notch, which allows you to make really long distance shots and still have an extremely precise sight picture. So I brought my CW9 car down, and with this little gun, we're gonna shoot this little munchkin at 200 yards up in the hills, applying this technique, and hopefully we'll make the shot. To apply this technique, instead of using the blade of the front sight lined up with the top of the rear sight, I'm going to take the dot of the front sight and raise it up so that it's out of the notch, but I'm still going to keep the front sight on my target. Bringing that front sight up like that is going to compensate for the bullet drop over that excessively long distance with just this little gun. So if applied right, we should be making contact. Let's see how it goes. I saw this shot, so I'm a little bit out of breath because you gotta run to make sure that is what I thought it was, and it was. So while making this shot, from that distance with these white dot sights, it literally would cover the entire target. You couldn't see what you were shooting. So using the Elmer Keith technique, you were able to raise it out of the back notch. I can't breathe. Out of the back notch, allowing you to keep your accuracy, aim, and also still see the target, which is key because it was a hard shot, not gonna lie. But yeah, it went great, and Elmer knows what he's talking about. And for such a small gun to be able to take that hit, I'm very impressed with this. All right, guys, be sure to like and share, and I'll see you out on the range. That was awesome. Hey, can I try that one? Yeah, let's see with the 380. Does everybody have eyes and ears?
we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report in our final segment. I'm your host, Hyungjin Sean Moon, the second king of Cheonilguk. Look at this picture of Saturday's launch. It flew 150 miles towards Japan. Look at that. They shot an ICBM missile over Japan. I mean, that is insane. Last night's missile flew 1,700 miles, splashed down in the sea northeast of Japan.
Pacific Ocean east of Japan.
Look down here. Guam is the nearest U.S. soil, 2,000 miles away down here. But look at that. They shot an ICBM missile potentially capable of carrying a nuclear warhead over Japan. Look at that. Went right over Japan. That is unbelievably provocative. That's 100% declaration of war. 100%. 100,000,000%. 100% declaration of war. I mean, this is ridiculous. Oh, I mean, just ridiculous. The missile test was branded another provocation and a big concern by the U.S. official disarmament ambassador to the UN. Washington still needs to do further analysis of the missile that flew over Japan's northeast Hokkaido island. How is disarmament working for you, huh? You're told by the UN that you'd be so good and you would bring the world to peace if you disarmed yourself. And at the same time, the same governments that told you to disarm yourself then arm the tyrants. And some of the most oppressive dictatorships in the world. They arm them, and now you have no more weapons to defend yourself. And you're dropping little Peasley bombs, trying to scare them, like South Korea is doing. Meanwhile, they just flew an ICBM over Japan, the third most powerful economic power in the world. Oh yeah, there's a great balance of power. There's a balance of power that shifted completely to the predators. Because you listen to the stupid UN moral posture virtue signaling of the stupid Grateful Dead and these stupid Hollywood Bono, what's his name? Bono, singing about peace, peace, peace. Disarm, disarm, disarm. And it's always the able side countries that end up disarming. And now you got a lunatic that's shooting ICBMs over your head. And you're at the mercy of a lunatic. That's why peace militia is so necessary. Worldwide. So when this kind of centralization of power happening, this kind of military monopolization starts happening, the peace militia can just step in and get rid of it. You have Islamic hordes trying to centralize power and trying to, create their own militias, militaries. Peace militia, local areas can mobilize and just get rid of them. Because under every blade of grass will be a gun for all those tyrants out there. That's the reason why Japan didn't attack America, because they were told that under every blade of grass is a gun. And there's a lot of grass in America. Because predators only understand the language of violence and force. That's all they communicate in. That's all they use to get power in. That's all they use to get their blood from. Violence and force. And if you do not communicate with force and violence with predators, they will mushy your ashtray and think you're weak and rummage in to kill off your civilization. But of course, it's better to nip it in the bud before it gets a big problem like this. And of course, it doesn't help the US government and Clinton was giving them the nuclear technology. That doesn't help, you see that? Meanwhile, they're 100% supporting the UN to disarm the able type countries. Great job. Not only they're working against you, trying to arm the enemies, they are working against you by disarming honest people. Demonizing from CNN, demonizing from Celebrity, Hollywood, Silicon Valley, you name it. Meanwhile, they have all Secret Service around them with 20 guns per person political official. Oh, but they get the virtue signal saying, I don't personally carry a gun. Just all my Secret Service around me carries 20 plus guns. But guns are bad. Remember that. They're only good if they protect me. Yeah, you see, the elites always doing the same thing. Same fallen pattern. Same greedy, thieverishly dishonorable pattern. Like the Quack Group trying to make fun of us that we have guns. What the hell are they talking about? Their freaking boss has guns. See, they want to centralize guns to themselves. They don't want the normal citizen to have guns. And how dare we give normal citizens guns? How dare we encourage the slaves to be not slaves? How dare we encourage them to be free in Christ and have a direct relationship with Christ? How dare we tell them and encourage them to defend themselves and have weapons and munitions? Oh, we're bad because we want to empower people and vulnerable groups like women and children. We're bad because we want to arm normal citizens so they can stand up against tyrants who try to control them and more positive virtue signal. Meanwhile, they have Secret Service with 20 guns around them. We're sick of the hypocrisy. They operate in the same manner, the family fraud and the Quack Group, same manner as the satanic macrocosmic forces. Exactly same. They're no different, come from the same cloth, sold their souls to Satan. Dishonorable, disloyal, treasonous traitors to God's people and his nation. And of course, that's why they will not be part of the kingdom and are not part of the kingdom. Washington still needs to do further analysis of the missile that flew over Japan's northern Hokkaido island into the sea, but it will be subject of a United Nations Security Council meeting later in the day, which will probably do nothing, only verbally condemn. We condemn it, yes, but then behind the scenes, help them. Behind the scenes, tell China to fund them more. Behind the scenes, help Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton send over nuclear power and nuclear technology to the Chinese and the North Koreans. Great job, UN! That's why True Father called the UN a satanic force. That had changed from when it actually helped in rescuing him from Hungnam prison, but that had taken over and been taken over by Satanism. It's another provocation by North Korea. They just seem to continue to happen. There's a big concern, of course, to my government and to a number of other governments. Wood said before a session on the UN-sponsored conference on disarmament, where North Korean Ambassador Han Tae-sung was to speak. I mean, they're shooting missiles over you and you can't even get armed. Let's hold another meeting on disarmament.
North Korean ambassador is a Han.
North Korea will not disarm, but let's everybody else disarm when they're shooting missiles over you. It's a great idea. Great idea. Great idea from the UN. Brilliant idea from the UN and Harvard professors. Great idea from MIT and Cambridge. Wow, they're so brilliant. Yes, we have to give our lives to them because they have official name tags and official news reporting. No, they can do no wrong. No, there's not just a history of 20th century killing over 272 million people by centralized government. No, none of that exists. None of that that's not all wrong. That was all good, you see. This level of cultish brainwashing is what the normal person is subjected to on a day-to-day basis without them even realizing it. How can you not get angry at the situation? How can you not get riled up at the situation? How can you not feel compassion for the victim of the normal person who's a total brain-dead zombie? The South Korean military said Tuesday it conducted 3 flight tests of 2 types of new missiles ranges of 497 miles and 310 miles on August 24th, and that the missiles were close to being operationally deployed. The military released footage of the tests of the long-range missiles that showed the missile being fired from a truck-mounted launcher and hitting a land-based target. Ooh, I'm sure North Korea is so scared. Look at these little explosions that they're having. Where are the little explosions? Here we are. Ooh, look, South Korea dropped a little bomb. Ah, it blew up some trees. Ah, North Korea is so scared. They just shot a nuclear warhead, ICBM, over Japan. Oh, they're so scared of 8 little bombs. Ooh, President Moon Jae-in, you're so brave. You did it. You showed them. You showed them, yeah. You showed them your cojones. You got some big testes. You got a big long dong silver. You got a snake in your pants. Ooh, you're big. Yeah, you dropped 8 little puny bombs. Meanwhile, they're firing ICBM missiles over countries now. Ooh, I'm sure they're trembling and they're quaking in their pants. I'm sure they're trembling in their little communist suits with their little dress shoes. I'm sure they're trembling with their little moosed up hair, even though they have illegal haircuts, according to their own regime. I mean, is it ridiculous? It's like a freaking comedy show. But we're living in it. It's a dystopian reality that we're living in. It's insanity. It's a Satan's kingdom must come down. There you go. Japan within reach. North Korea has fired a missile that passed over northern Japan today. Bam, look at that missile. Holy Shemitah. The warning text to citizens said a missile was fired from North Korea. Please evacuate to a sturdy building or basement. Like that, it's actually going to help you if it's a freaking nuclear warhead. There's Prime Minister Abe. Television and radio broadcasters broke into regular program with a J alert warning citizens of the missile launch in the early hours of the morning. Bullet train services were temporarily halted and warnings went out over loudspeakers in towns in Hokkaido.
A lot of people were just waking up. It was 6 o'clock in the morning.
Just waking up and bombs are flying over their heads. See that, how things can change in just a minute? You could be sleeping and waking up, all of a sudden, boom, you're hit with a nuclear missile. And you're laughing at Sek King trying to tell people to prepare, huh? You're laughing at Sek King for preparing. You're laughing at the other people who have a proper amygdala function who've been actually awake and been prepping. You're the freaking lunatic. You're the freaking dummy. You're the brainwashed cultist. Not the second king. And not our sanctuary brothers and sisters who are responsible and are preparing so they can do God's will if God calls them to do so. I'm not saying that all of them preparing. I'm trying to get on their case for this. They're not as preparing as much as I would like. But at least now they're getting the chugga. Chugga means the stimulation. We've been warning you for many years, and now the time has come. No more procrastination. The time to take sides is now. No more running away. No more do it for another day. The time and the end is at hand. Satan's kingdoms will come under judgment, but he will not go out without a fight. 9/23 is coming up. More rumblings, wars, and rumors of wars are coming out. More catastrophe is up ahead. Do not be foolish. Do not be asleep at this hour, for this is the final hour. We must make it through this next 3.5 years. Not for survival's sake alone, for even though we die, we will be with Christ in heaven. But if God willing, we survive and make it through, it is for the will of God to be done. Your preparations do not mean that you doubt God or that he will provide provision. He's providing provision right now. He's got the second king telling you to prepare. That's called a provision, you bum. You can't come to God and say, hey God, you never provided me. You didn't provide. You didn't tell me I was going to drive off that cliff if I drove 80 miles and 100 miles an hour and there's a 90-degree curve and I drove straight off. You didn't save me. You idiot. He gave you a freaking steering wheel and brakes so you can slow down the 100 miles an hour and turn the 90-degree turn, you dumb ashtray. It's your fault that you drove off the cliff. Don't be talking about no provision. God's got the second king talking to you right now, telling you to prepare. And I've been telling you for 4 years, and I've been doing it. So you're the bum. Get your ashtray off the couch and get your ashtray preparing. Because there's going to be a fight from the macro to the micro. We live in incredible times, folks. John Patmos in the book of Revelation saw this time 2,000 years ago and we're living in it now. The child and the birth pangs are happening. There's a new birth coming. The kingdoms of God. But God and his co-heirs and Christ and his kingdom will rule over this world with a rod of iron and vanquish the kingdoms of Satan. And God's kingdom eternal will dominate this world. Cheoninguk Constitution is here. Not as a system of the kingdoms of the past, but so that the children of God can inherit all that God has prepared for them from the foundations of the world. Thank you for joining us today, this Tuesday, August 29th, 2017, as we end our broadcast. Stay safe, stay awake, stay alert. Give God all the glory and praise, and even though it gets intense, get outside and connect with God in his room. Don't always ask him to come to your room. Go to his room and see your Father. He's all around you. He still consoles you. But that doesn't mean you should be asleep and be lulled into a fake sense of hypnotic trance. We should be alert. We should know what Satan is moving and how the predators are moving. But we should also stay grateful and alert and awake to the presence of God and his grace all around us at all times. We'll see you tomorrow, 5 a.m. sharp, with Tim Elder tomorrow and Korean service tomorrow on the King's Report. God bless, Godspeed, and may his kingdom come. See you tomorrow.